SelectHarness.com now if you're a foreman with 3 years experience in excavation. Invest in a company who's going to invest in you. SelectHarness.com. Harness LLC. Build people, move dirt.
There's not a better time than now to start feeling young again. Get your energy back, lose some weight, spruce up your look, and get healthy. Invigorate Health can help. They don't focus on just one area of the aging body. They take care of all of it with therapies that can restore your vitality and are customized for you. Medically supervised weight loss, hormone replacement therapy, PRP, IV therapy, supplements, Botox, and fillers are some of the services offered. Check out InvigorateHealthTN.com and book an appointment in Franklin, Mount Juliet, or Midtown.
Join 102.9 The Buzz and ESPN 102.5 The Game in partnership with the Nashville Predators for 615 Day at the Ford Ice Center in Antioch. There will be tons of food, fun, and activities for the whole family. All proceeds raised on 615 Day go directly to benefit the Boys and Girls Club of Mental to the Sea to help kids like me, Jaden. Thank you so much for your support of the Boys and Girls Clubs. We will see you on 615 Day at the Ford Ice Center in Antioch.
If you've got a yard, you may plan on digging in it, like to build an addition, put in a pool, or bury your pirate booty. But you should know that throughout the country, there may be pipelines buried underground. And if you hit one, you've got trouble. Sorry. So before you dig, call 811 to have any buried pipelines located and marked at no charge. For more tips on pipeline safety, visit pipesafety.org. A message from the Tennessee Gas Association, Tennessee Association of Broadcasters, and this station.
From the Hillside Medical Game Studios, WPRT-FM Pegram, WPUC HD2 Laverne.
NASCAR is back. Kyle Larson returns to Nashville Superspeedway a winner.
Nashville's exclusive home for NASCAR.
ESPN
102.5 and 106.3.
Terang, it's a high fly ball.
The leading receiver.
Awesome game 7. Checkered flag in the air.
The Game.
A Cromwell media station.
Where you have a voice.
We're one play away from an injury.
He knows this. He's a study of the game.
And we have strong opinions.
He's been awful. I don't think they were trying, and that's why I feel the way I feel.
This is Stillman and Company with Jared Stillman and Caroline Fenton. Presented by TriStar Moving on Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And on the Game Nashville app.
Stillman & Company is delivered by TriStar Moving, ESPN 102.5. The Game streaming live on Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook Live. Thanks to Law Offices of Amanda Gentry, live from the Hillside Medical Game Studios. Caroline Fenton is here today. Hello, Caroline.
Hello, how we doing?
Outstanding. Ian Safar is here. Hello, Ian.
What up, what up?
So I was at Titans mandatory mini camp today. Caroline was at Titans mandatory mini camp today.
Yes, I was.
And I got to tell you, there was a very special vibe that I think I felt yesterday. You know, everything in my life revolves around. I said yesterday?
Yeah.
Feels like yesterday.
It does feel like yesterday.
So there's everything in my life, not to go all psychoanalysis in on me, but everything in my life is essentially kind of a representation of my life as a kid, which probably is a good thing that I get to talk about the Titans all day because as a kid, all I used to ever do was talk about the Titans. But I'm always reminded of childhood feelings or memories, and we used to have every Friday before the start of school. School might start on Monday. Sometimes, I don't know why it got weird, but school would start on Wednesday. But anywho, in high school, every Friday before the start of the school year, we'd have new student orientation. So normally it was for a lot of the freshmen that were coming because, again, I went to a K through 12 school, but we picked up more people in 5th grade, and then we picked up more people in 9th grade, but, you know, there would be some stragglers that would come in, 11th grade or 10th grade or whatever. And so it was for those people. And what they'd do is they'd have their schedule, and they'd show it to you, and you'd look at it, and you'd say, all right, okay, yeah, let me take you to this teacher, let me take you to that teacher, let me introduce you to all these different teachers, everything, right?
Yep.
And I used to love new student orientation day because even though I hated school, it was almost like we're right back to where things were, and everybody's excited for the new school year. Even somebody like me who didn't get overly good grades. I got okay grades, but didn't get overly good grades, wasn't overly an active student. I loved new student orientation. It was like, oh, man, what you been doing this summer? What are the big plans? All this kind of stuff. You get to see your teachers, whatever. I say all of this because that's exactly how I felt today out there at Titans mandatory minicamp. It felt great. It felt awesome. Everybody was there. Not one person was missing from reporting. No holdouts, technically, which we'll get to. But Derrick Henry was there, and he's got a new haircut, and the media loved asking questions about his haircut.
Yes, they did.
Between that and the one that really got me, I'm actually kind of disappointed in Paul Kawarski for this. He asked Ryan Tannehill like 6 questions about, did you watch Derrick's workout videos? Like, oh, God. You know
there
what I mean?
were a lot of questions to Ryan Tannehill about Derrick Henry, and ultimately Ryan Tannehill was like, well, I don't need Derrick. I can do things on my own.
I have worked out before without watching a Derrick Henry video in order to do it. I've also worked out before without watching a Jane Fonda video ahead of time as well. Are there any other videos that, was it Russell Simmons? Richard Simmons.
Richard Simmons.
Yeah. I haven't seen his,
Although, workouts are much less enthusiastic without a Richard Simmons video.
There's some truth there.
Yeah.
But it was great. I mean, it felt like the start of training camp. It felt like everybody was there. And the thing about training camp that I've learned over the years is everybody's going 17-0. Everybody's going to the Super Bowl. When you see an interception at training camp, that's not a bad throw from the quarterback. That's a great play from the defensive back. When you see an unbelievable catch over a defensive back in a padless 7-on-7, that's not a bad play by the DB. That's a great catch by the wide receiver. That's what training camp is. Oh, man, because, hey, it's either one guy did poorly or one guy did good, and everyone's going to say, you know what, let's take the guy who did well.
Take the lesser of two evils.
Let's highlight him. So I'm sitting there today out there watching OTAs. Thought Tannehill threw some nice passes, had a beautiful touchdown pass to Josh Malone today. I thought Malik Willis had a beautiful touchdown pass to Josh Malone. Now, Malik Willis also had some bad throws, but Malik Willis had a beautiful throw right there. That was good. Derrick Henry was back in there. That was good. Bud Dupree was out there. Bud Dupree, by the way, going back to the whole everybody's going to go 17-0. Bud Dupree's Neil feels great. He feels great. Everybody's in great shape. Everybody feels great. Nate Davis hired a nutritionist. He's excited. 17-0. 17-0 for the Titans. Then reality set in. When I looked over and I saw 2 people on the bike, Jeffrey Simmons and Treylon Burks. In fact, Mike Vrabel was asked, what the hell's going on with those guys? Here's what Vrabel had to say.
Mike, is Jeff available?
Just unavailable.
Contract deal going on?
Unavailable. That's how we're going to go when guys don't practice and it's not an injury report.
Same deal with Treylon?
Unavailable.
Unavailable. There are 2 words that the Titans in this offseason have completely ruined for me. Unavailable and foresee.
Oh, yeah, they really did ruin foresee.
They ruined foresee, but I mean, unavailable is just their new go-to.
So they were unavailable.
Vrabel's new go-to.
Now, why were they unavailable? I think that's a fair question for us to be able to discuss. You know what? Burks was over there on the bike, and he was pedaling hard. Let me give you that. And Simmons was over there on the bike, and he was pedaling hard. And I got to tell you, I'm equally discouraged by both. Simmons, and he didn't talk today, and I doubt he'll talk tomorrow. Maybe he talks tomorrow. I don't know. But it wouldn't surprise me if the whole thing was, hey, injured players don't talk, so Simmons not injured players.
Unavailable.
Unavailable players don't talk, so the unavailable Jeffrey Simmons isn't going to talk. So you won't hear Jeffrey Simmons, and this is an assumption I'm making. You won't hear Jeffrey Simmons when it comes to telling us what's up with him, and he doesn't have an agent. According to Spot Track, he's his own agent. So if it's a contract deal, you know they're not going to tell us. Vrabel, what's up with Simmons? Unavailable. Contract deal? Unavailable. If John Robinson were to talk, and I doubt that he would, but if John Robinson were to talk, he would say, oh, yeah, we don't really talk about contracts and things like that, so we're not going to be talking about that. So you're not going to know what the deal with Simmons is. But that's the first thing, is are we looking at just a freaking tug-of-war with Jeffrey Simmons as far as his contract is concerned? Are we looking at a quote-unquote hold-in as far as Jeffrey Simmons is concerned? Because he wasn't at any of the OTAs, threw a fit on Twitter over the Tannehill stuff when he said that you all need to learn the difference between voluntary and mandatory. And then when he shows up for mandatory minicamp, he's riding the bike, which you can go do down the gym over there at Orange Theory. So I don't.
Orange Theory doesn't have bikes.
Yeah, they do.
They do?
Yeah.
Since when?
How would I know if they have bikes at Orange Theory.
I'm just trying to check you because I didn't know they had bikes.
So when I broke my toe a couple weeks ago,
P's and P's.
like a month ago or whatever, I had to spend a couple weeks on the bike because it takes less pressure off. Like
you were on the Jeffrey Simmons program.
I was unavailable. The rower you push off. Like with your toes and your feet. So I couldn't do that. So instead of rowing, I biked and whatever. But I digress. He's over there on the bike, going his merry way, Peloton. And then there's Burks. And, Rob Moore kind of let the cat out of the bag on Burks last week that it's asthma. But remember what Trevor Maddich said last week. We asked him about the asthma and the perhaps allergies and the fitness. And Trev was like, yeah, I played in the NFL for a while, and everybody on the team's got something. Some guys have diabetes. Some guys have high blood pressure. Some guys have asthma. Every time that happens, and you remember what Trev said, he goes, I'd say, man, I feel bad for you. Figure it out.
Figure it out.
Here's Traylon Burks, and it's like it's getting worse. I would say it's getting better than last week when he was nowhere to be found, but today he's on the bike. So Traylon Burks, the number one ability in the NFL is what?
Availability.
And Traylon Burks is what?
Not available.
That's not the exact word.
Excuse me, pardon. Unavailable.
Unavailable. He's unavailable. And so, again, the feeling you're going to have from mini camps and training camp and things like that, that's why I'm so thankful that we're going to not only have an interesting preseason because of the quarterback, Malik Willis, but we're also going to have training camp practices with Arizona and Tampa Bay. So we'll be able to sit out there and say, no, they're stinking it up, or no, they're great, they look good. But everybody's going to feel like they're 17-0. I'm going to make an assumption. You could go to Denver Broncos, mandatory minicamp, and it would be, oh, man, Russ was out there. Russ looked like he's going to the Hall of Fame, and the receivers look like they're dialed in with Russ, and Melvin Gordon, like he looks great. The new tight end looks good. And, I'll tell you, the Broncos, they just look great. You go out to Raiders. What did Devontae Adams say last week? Oh, yeah, Derek Carr is pretty similar to Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, okay.
So everybody's going 17-0 this week. But then as I'm sitting out there at Titans practice, I see Jeffrey Simmons on the bike. I see Traylon Burks on the bike. Their status officially was
unavailable.
If they're unavailable against the Giants, you lose. If they're unavailable against the Buffalo Bills, you definitely lose. So that's the thing that I walked away from today was, I think the camaraderie, and we talked a lot about leadership and are the guys too selfish? And, Derrick Henry was there, and I thought Derrick said all the right things. Who else was there that hadn't been there? Harold Landry was there. Mm-hmm. I thought he said all the right things today.
Bud Dupree was there.
Though nobody was really interested in what Harold Landry had to say.
No, he was at the podium and then away from the podium very quickly. But Bud Dupree was there.
Bud Dupree was there. He said all the right things.
Nate Davis
was there. Now, he said some things that I interpreted kind of selfishly, but we'll get into that throughout the day. But again, everybody was there, and everybody seems to be doing great. And the team morale and camaraderie seems to be fine. And then I saw, there's Jeffrey Simmons over there. And he probably wants a new contract. And he's on the bike. And he's not practicing. There's Traylon Burks, who couldn't get through his first rookie mini camp practice. Couldn't get through any OTA without having to step out a little bit. Missed last week. And he's on the bike this week. There he is. And I'm thinking, I better get these two situations figured out. Because if they don't, it's going to be a lot of T.R. Tart. And I like T.R. Tart, but he ain't Jeffrey Simmons. And if they don't with Traylon Burks, it's going to be a lot of Nick Westbrook-Akina. And Nick Westbrook-Akina actually looks pretty good. Cody Hollister, Josh Malone, they all look pretty good. But guess what? They're not A.J. Brown. And they traded for Traylon Burks to replace A.J. Brown. So that's my opening thought from minicamp. Your thoughts? 615-737-1025 is our phone number. 615-737-1025. I say we address these two things individually. Let's start with Simmons. Because the contract, I believe that this is a contract thing. We'll get your thoughts on that and the money and everything else. We'll do that, what's going on, what's going to happen, what do the Titans do? We'll get to that next. We're rocking and rolling. 615-737-1025. Stillman and Company right here on ESPN 1025 The Game.
Let's put the green flag in the air and turn them loose.
Nashville's home for NASCAR.
He's going to try to make a big move here.
Is brought to you by the Nashville Fairgrounds Speedway. We are your racing station.
ESPN
102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And the Game Nashville app.
Interest rates may be rising elsewhere, but not at Genesis Diamond. Now through June 18th, you can get 0 interest for 5 whole years. That's right. Buy now, pay nothing down, and spread your payments over 5 years without a dime in interest. Only Genesis can make an offer like this on rings, earrings, pendants, bands, designer jewelry, even GIA certified diamonds. There's just one catch. This is a limited time offer and it ends June 18th. 5 years, 0 interest financing with nothing down at Genesis Diamonds, Green Hills and Cool Springs on approved credit.
Races, concerts, and one big party. The Big Machine Music City Grand Prix returns to Nashville August 5th through 7th. For 3 days, the streets of downtown Nashville will come alive with the sounds of race cars, music, and cheering fans. 3-day tickets are on sale starting as low as $129. The Big Machine Music City Grand Prix is a weekend full of entertainment that you don't want to miss, and tickets are going fast. Visit MusicCityGP.com to buy yours today.
Darren McFarland.
A lot of dots to connect there, a lot of storylines.
Willie Donick.
Be careful what you wish for.
And Chase McCabe.
Yes, because it's my favorite.
Get through your workday with Darren, Donick, and Chase. Weekdays 10 to 2.
Great 3-man band live. Fire it up. Let's go.
On Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
I think they would love to see that.
Watch live on YouTube, Twitch, and Periscope.
When you see that, click on it.
The body is a machine by itself. Given the right ingredients, during the right situation, some things can be healed naturally.
Football legend Emmitt Smith learned that pain pills and surgeries are only Band-Aids for chronic joint pain. A smarter, longer-lasting solution? Natural biologic treatments from QC Kinetics.
With QC Kinetics, it's that way. It's that natural process of allowing my body to actually heal itself.
With no downtime and no drugs, QC Kinetics regenerative pain treatments can repair and restore damaged tissue, bringing lasting pain relief in your knees, shoulders, hips, and lower back.
What I like about working with QC Kinetics is the natural aspect of it. The body has a way of reconnecting itself and re-healing itself.
Call QC Kinetics now for a free consultation.
If you tried it other ways, there's a new method.
Call QC Kinetics, 615-249-4024. That's 615-249-4024. QC Kinetics, 615-249-4024.
The official Monster Truck Series. Witness the world's best drivers competing in your favorite Monster Jam trucks, like Gravedigger, Megalodon, and more.
Who's ready for more racing?
Witness exciting head-to-head competition. Be part of the action.
Let's hear it. Make some noise.
Tickets on sale now. Coming to Nissan Stadium June 25th. Brought to you by BKT Tires. Visit monsterjam.com for event details. Lock in your seats today.
It's on. It's happening. Remember, you can watch us on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, and Twitter.
Get out of the way, I'm watching a game.
Presented by the law offices of Amanda Gentry. You're listening to Stillman and Company.
presented by TriStar Moving
On ESPN 102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And on the Game Nashville app.
Yesterday's price is not today's price. And that $20 million ticket that was on even Aaron Donald, because he was at 22. DeForest Buckner was 21, Chris Jones 20. You had Jonathan Allen at 18, Leonard Williams right around 19. So that price is different now. And Jeffrey Simmons has every right to look for 26, 27 in annual salary. But really what it comes down to is that guaranteed jack. That's what matters. And I think you look at some of these contracts that have been signed recently. You know, Chris Jones, he had $60 million guaranteed, a 4-year, $80 million deal. With 60 of it guaranteed. Buckner, his deal was signed, 2 years ago? And that was a $44 million guarantee at 4 years, $84 million. So I think, you know, when you look at Aaron Donald at $95 million in guarantees, I don't think it's out of ordinary for Simmons to command $70 to $75 million in guarantees. So that's the way you look at it. And I mean, he has every right to be in the $100 million contract club because he is, simply put, outside of Aaron Donald, the best defensive tackle, interior guy in the game.
There you go. That was TD last week talking about Simmons, saying $100 million club, guaranteed money. We're hearing he was talking about Buckner, $40 million. This guy got $60 million. This guy got. So today, Jeffrey Simmons finally showed up for mandatory minicamp, which was a big discussion about would Simmons show up. Remember, Vrabel was acting all kinds of crabby about mandatory minicamp and guys not there and guys working with their trainers. And, this is not something new, especially on this show, but this is not something new in general. So when everybody was there yesterday, including Derrick Henry, who we had talked at length about, I got all these tweets that are like, what do you think now, Jared? And I was like, I never said he was going to miss mandatory minicamp. I wondered aloud if he would. And we said that it was either going to be Henry or Simmons, and that Vrabel was mad about something. Henry was out there and on the field and taking reps and asked about all those things, and Derrick explained why he wasn't there for OTAs, and I thought his excuse passed. And I asked Derrick about his contract, and I was actually surprised he talked as much as he did, saying, wouldn't you want a promotion at your job? By the way, the answer to that is yes. If everybody's
for anybody listening.
Whatever. I'm kidding. But Derrick, kind of talked about, Derrick made it clear he wanted a contract.
Yeah.
Simmons did not practice. Simmons and Burks were on the bikes, working out by themselves on the bikes with the strength coaches. And Ian, if we could, Mike Vrabel did give an update on why Jeffrey Simmons and Treylon Burks did not practice today. Here's what Mike Vrabel said.
Just unavailable.
Contract deal going on?
Unavailable. That's how we're going to go when guys don't practice and it's not an injury report.
Same deal with Treylon?
Unavailable.
Okay.
So unavailable.
So we know it's not a contract issue with Burks. So let's leave him out for a second.
Uh-huh.
Let's go to Simmons. Do we think it's a contract issue?
I think it could be. But also
Joe Rexroad.
What?
It could be.
Well, that's not what I'm saying.
Like when you say, give me a percentage of could. Like, is it a strong, it definitely could be. Or is it like it could be.
No, I'm saying it definitely could be. Or, where did we hear, I was in a TD article somewhere where Jeffrey Simmons wanted to get his playing weight down to 295.
I think TD tweeted that out yesterday. Yeah.
TD tweeted it out.
Yeah.
So, could it be that Treylon Burks and Jeffrey Simmons are both on the Fat Boy program?
Ooh.
Because you say let's separate them. Why separate them when they're doing the same things?
Because I don't think Mike Vrabel puts Jeffrey Simmons on the Fat Boy program. In fact, it wouldn't surprise me if Vrabel actually wanted Simmons fatter. I think when we talked about why they want Simmons, why Simmons wants to play at 295.
To get to the quarterback.
I think it's to sack the quarterback. Well, I think the Titans want Simmons to sack the quarterback. I also think they want Simmons to stop the run. Like, it wouldn't surprise me if the Titans are like, we'd actually prefer you at like 315 or something like that. And
I'm just saying, if we can assume that Treylon Burks is a shape issue.
But we can also assume that it absolutely is not a contract issue with Burks.
Yes, that's fair.
Like, that is.
But he's on the bike probably because they want to get him in better shape. They want him to trim some pounds. So if Jeffrey Simmons is doing the same things as Treylon Burks, who needs to get in better shape, then does Jeffrey Simmons need to be in better shape? I know we've seen those videos of him working out, but.
So the bike is not traditionally used for the Fat Boy program. The bike is.
But they weren't on the bike the whole time.
The bike is usually traditionally for the injured guys.
Yeah.
And then you would have to ask the question about, could it be an injury with Simmons? Here's what I see as an issue with Simmons. I don't know how Simmons feels personally about the NFL and his place in it and money and everything else. I have no idea. How much he loves playing for the Titans, how much he wants to be the highest paid defensive tackle in the NFL or the most guaranteed money or anything like that. And he's his own agent. That's one of the big mysteries right now in Baltimore with Lamar Jackson. Mm-hmm. Is this, what the hell do you want? Because you're your agent. And so Simmons is his agent. Aaron Donald just signed for $30 million a season. And again, while those numbers, for the most part, in most cases in the NFL, are usually kind of fake, this one's not. Like, Aaron's getting $30 million a year, and he can retire after 2 years, and then if he doesn't retire, it's even more money for the third year. Mm-hmm. But I was just looking at this. Jeffrey Simmons is slated to make $2.2 million this year on the final year of his 2019 rookie contract. They exercised the fifth-year option at $10.75 million. So let's just say 10.7. Mm-hmm. The franchise tag for this year at defensive tackle was 17.3. Now, that number's going to go up. But for argument's sake, let's just say that the franchise tag is 7.3, the exclusive franchise tag. That's a total of $30.2 million over the next 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
I say let's add $5 million because the franchise tag value is going to be worth more 2 years down the road from now. And they probably use a more specific roadmap for that, but let's just use it ourselves here at $5 million. That would be $35 million over the next 3 years. That would total $11.6 million for the Titans with no commitment after next year's fifth-year option. And again, this is all kind of weird numbers and things, and we all know that the cap's fake. And I'm not arguing on behalf of the cap, but I'm arguing on behalf of what the Titans want to pay for. Jeffrey Simmons probably looks at himself. You heard what TD said right there, that he thinks he's the number 2 defensive tackle in the NFL. I'm sure there would be arguments that the guys at Pro Football Focus would like to make or whatever, but I don't think TD's off when he says that Simmons is the number 2 defensive tackle in the NFL. I certainly think there's an argument for it.
There's an argument for sure.
If Jeffrey Simmons were to make $11.6 million, which again would be those 3 years, combined, the $2.2 million, the $10.75, the $17.3, add $5 million. If he were to make $11.6 million per season as a defensive tackle, that would slate him in as the 12th highest paid DT in the NFL, behind whoever the hell Javon Hargrave for the Philadelphia Eagles is, and in front of Dalvin Tomlinson for the Vikings. So Simmons probably looks at himself, and this is why I asked the question about, are we headed for some kind of Cold War showdown?
Mm-hmm.
Because Simmons sees Donald at 31 and Buckner at 21 and probably thinks he should be in between that. So he's probably thinking 25, 27, somewhere around that. And then if the Titans were to negotiate with him and say, hey, we have your next 3 years essentially, and we don't have to even guarantee that third year. So, the Titans, that's the Titans' leverage, just like it was with AJ. AJ didn't want to hear about it. And the Titans gave in to AJ. Will they give in to Simmons? I don't know. But again, Simmons is not an agent. So Simmons just thinks, I should be paid, less than Donald, more than Buckner. And the Titans come in and say, hey, let's pay you, again, the number that we're working off of is $11.5 million a season. Let's pay you 17. Vita Vea is 17.75. Let's pay you 17. And he's thinking about 25, 26. He's going to be like, hell no. Well, at some point, the Titans have to use their leverage a little bit in order to get a better deal. And that's where, again, the whole concept of holding in comes in. Now, I will say, Simmons was there today. So that's a good sign. Because a lot of times, if it's contentious or whatever, the guy will miss minicamp. But Simmons doesn't have an agent. Whereas if he had an agent, the agent and an experienced agent, now I'm not one to sit here and say players shouldn't represent themselves, because Lamar may walk away with the bag and not have to give a single dollar to an agent. But I do wonder if Simmons understands that the Titans do have him essentially locked up for the next 3 years at $11.6 million per season over the next 3 years, and that's without even guaranteeing the third year. So they're going to come to you and they're going to say, what about $20 million a season? What about, and it's like, whoa, the price is going up. Aaron Donald just signed for all this money. So that's what leads me to believe that's probably what's going on here. Is Simmons he's probably told the Titans, I want a new deal. And the Titans have probably said, we can work on a new deal and, we can try to make progress there. But in the meantime, you have to play. And so that's probably what's going on. Taylor Lewan, before he signed his deal, he was there, but he wasn't there. Like, he didn't participate in the drills until the contract was signed for fear of getting hurt. So maybe the Titans and Simmons are working towards a deal.
And I wouldn't blame him.
I wouldn't know. But I'm just telling you, I think that, because I ultimately think the Titans are going to want Simmons to replicate his performance from a year ago. I'm not sure the Titans are going to jump ahead and say, you know what, here you go. Here's a $25 million a year deal for the next 5 years and go knock it out of the park, babe. Because, again, they got him for 2.2 this year, 10.753 next year, and then whatever the tag's going to be. And, we're estimating it's 17.3 now. We've thrown $5 extra million on there, so $22.3 million. And every single one of those years, but every single one of those years is below what he probably thinks he's worth. And that's what I wonder. And again, I'm not saying that's what the problem is, but considering that nobody will talk about it, I think it is at least worth discussing. Is this, are we looking at another AJ situation? And did the AJ situation lead the Titans to this position with Simmons, where Simmons thinks that, he deserves what he wants, and he's going to be right over there parked at that bike until he gets it.
And I do wonder, too, how much of the AJ situation and the Titans ultimately deciding to trade AJ Brown, how much did Jeffrey Simmons come to mind when making that decision of we're not willing to give AJ the bag because we know that a Jeffrey Simmons contract is coming down the wire and we want to give Jeff the bag? I don't know.
I don't know how much it is about the bag, but I do wonder if and we talked about this, AJ pouted and he got his way. And is this now going to be something that the other players look at and say, hey, I can pout my way to getting what I want?
But it also depends on how much they prioritize staying here. I don't know if that's a priority of Jeffrey Simmons or not, but AJ got what he wanted, but not here.
But you're going to have to talk to Simmons about that.
Yes.
And unavailable players don't talk. So there you go. 615-737-1025. Add that to the mix. We will get to your phone, 615-737-1025. And again, the Simmons deal, I don't know what's going on with Simmons, but I think it's going to be something. And then this would be, he's on the bike tomorrow and whatever. And then then it's, 6 weeks from now, is he on the bike? Does he have a new contract? Who knows? 615-737-1025. So add that there into the mix. And the other guy who was unavailable, Treylon Burks, Ryan Tannehill, had some interesting comments about Treylon Burks because on one hand, he's not worried, but on another hand, well, we'll get to that coming up next. 615-737-1025 is our phone number, 615-737-1025. Stillman & Company, it's ESPN 1025 again.
If you're on the road between downtown Nashville,
they're still in good shape to make the playoffs.
And I-840.
Players make it clear they don't want to be somewhere anymore.
There's a new way to hear all your favorite shows and sports programming on 102.5 The Game.
I go back to that play and I shake my head. What I was worried about is that they were still just going to keep the goal.
It's 106.3 FM.
Think about all the good Titans teams.
This is very much so a run-first offense.
Now you have two choices to hear Nashville's best sports talk. Check out 106.3 now and add it as a favorite.
Tough jobs need tough equipment. For equipment that gets the job done right, elite certified service, and genuine Kubota parts, choose Coleman Tractor Company, Tennessee's largest full-line Kubota dealer. Get hay season done right with a Kubota M7 tractor. User-friendly controls, all-day comfort, powerful versatility. Lease the Kubota M7 for as low as $13,200 annually, now through June 13th. See us or go to KubotaUSA.com for more information. Visit Coleman Tractor Company, your local Kubota dealer in Clarksville, Nashville, Paris, and White House today.
Honey, what's an 8-letter word for difficult to explain?
When we planned on retiring, we never planned on Medicare being so confusing.
What's a 6-letter word for special skills or knowledge?
Fortunately, Farm Bureau Health Plans is an expert on all things Medicare. With 75 years of helping Tennesseans, they helped us understand our Medicare options.
Why are these things so complicated?
Talk to your local representative or visit fbhp.com. Farm Bureau Health Plans. Plan on us.
This year, come out for a little outdoor fun at Land Between the Lakes, only an hour and a half northwest of Nashville. They have over 170,000 acres of forest and wetlands on a peninsula in western Kentucky and Tennessee. Hiking, camping, fishing, kayaking, canoeing, outdoor learning, you name it. Land Between the Lakes is where you want to be.
Get up close and personal with wildlife at the Woodlands Nature Station. Take a scenic drive through the elk and bison prairie. Visit the 1850s home place working farm and see what life was like over 170 years ago.
Plan your adventure at landbetweenthelakes.us.
Hey, it's Jared for TriStar Moving. If you're looking to move, you need to give my friends at TriStar Moving a call. At TriStar Moving, you'll get 5-star service throughout the entire process. Everything will be taken care of, from covering your floors, banisters, railings, front door thresholds, furniture, TVs, and more. They took great care of my move and made it as stress-free as possible. If you're looking to move, give TriStar Moving a call, 615-640-1219, or visit them at nashvillemoving.org/radio and get 5% off your entire move. TriStar Moving, my official movers.
Join 102.9 The Buzz and ESPN 102.5 The Game in partnership with the Nashville Predators for 615 Day at the Ford Ice Center in Antioch. There will be tons of food, fun, and activities for the whole family. All proceeds raised on 615 Day go directly to benefit the Boys and Girls Club of Mental Literacy to help kids like me, Jaden. Thank you so much for your support of the Boys and Girls Clubs. We will see you on 615 Day at the Ford Ice Center in Antioch.
So sticky. At Hannah's Organic Honey, business may be sweet, but they need an e-commerce queen bee to lead the hive.
Okay, these jars are going to Jakarta. Oh, wait a minute. Does that say Jackson?
Indeed can help them hire great people fast.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. You can schedule and conduct virtual interviews all from your employer dashboard. Earn up to $500 in sponsored job credits by interviewing on Indeed. Visit Indeed.com/credit. Terms and conditions apply.
The Sounds.
Play ball! Over first into right field, a base hit. White is around third into score.
Your Nashville Sounds open their series down I-40 against the Memphis Redbirds.
Swing and a miss, strike three. Sounds win.
Coverage begins at 6:50 on your home for the Sounds.
ESPN
94.9 and the Game Nashville app.
Hey Nashville, this is Paul Feinbaum and you're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
Traylon hadn't been out here, I'm sure, as much as he would have liked, I guess, over the course of the last couple of weeks. Have you still been able to work with them, talk with them, do some things where when training camp starts, you can feel like you can hit the ground running?
Yeah, we've had a lot of conversations, as we're watching the tape, talking through the reps that other guys had and communicating it, just making sure, he's hearing it, what I'm looking for. I'm kind of hearing what he's thinking, and obviously the best thing is to have him out there on the field, working with us, but that's not the case. So you got to make do with what you got and make the best out of what you have. So we're communicating, and then whenever time comes for him to be out there running with us, then we'll take advantage of those reps.
There you go, Ryan Tannehill. Hey, he's not out there, but he's getting the mental reps. We're watching the tape, we're going over, and he's getting the mental reps, which I think was a Butch Jones-ism one time where he talked about mental reps. And let me say this for the record, as somebody who just trashed on Butch Jones, way before it was cool. The guy who's like, hey, I listened to this band before they were cool.
Very hipstery on Butch Jones over here.
Oh, boy. I trashed on Butch Jones way before everybody else finally realized that he was full of crap. But I also think that my history of discussing Tennessee probably
it doesn't surprise
tracks
me.
With,
that doesn't surprise me.
So, anywho, Tannehill's talking about the mental reps. I asked Tannehill if he was concerned about a revolving door at receiver because that was what happened last year. Tannehill said he wasn't concerned. So Tannehill's telling us he's not concerned. We're doing the mental reps. It'll be fine. Burks' lack of availability or unavailability, as Vrabel would say, he's unavailable. That's not, whatever, not that big of a deal. It'll be fine. We go over it mental. Then he was asked about the rookie receivers and the reps on the field. Here's what Tannehill said.
Maybe along those lines, Ryan, you worked with a lot of rookie receivers over your career. When they're not out here on the field, how far behind are they?
I mean, it definitely hurts, right, not to be out there. But I think everyone in the building is trying to do their best to prepare, even the guys that aren't out there mentally, or make sure that we're staying up on the scripts and the walkthroughs and the jog-throughs and learning from the full-speed reps on tape. That's all you can do at this point is to try to learn each and every way you can. And then when the time comes, you're able to step on the grass and it's time to go.
So basically, yeah, it hurts. So he's not concerned, and we're going over mental reps, but it hurts that he's not out there. No duh.
He said it and then he walked it back.
Yes,
that's how he felt. Is that it hurts. Tannehill needs him out there.
See, this is where, and I know Rob Moore stood up for Burks last week and told all of us that it was asthma. And I am convinced, and again, I was convinced of something the other day that even I talked about yesterday on the show. I've been convinced of something for like 3 months that I even talked about yesterday, and I'm pretty sure that I was wrong about. So I can convince myself about a lot of things.
Yeah, that is true.
But I'm convinced that the Titans as a whole, and Tannehill's part of this, that they hate this situation right now with Burks.
Oh, well, yeah, of course.
But again, he'll be fine. Last week, Vrabel not worried at all about training camp with Burks. And Rob Moore last week, yeah, he was right on course. Kid's got asthma. That.
Well, of course they're going to say that.
I know. And Tannehill today, not concerned, even though what was clearly a problem last year
not concerned.
might be a problem this year. I mean, so the truth is that I think the Titans are probably as worried as we are, and the Titans are concerned, but they're not going to say anything.
No, they're not going to say that they're concerned.
And so you can't put anybody's name on it, but it absolutely has to be concerning. Here's the thing, and I remember last year saying this to TD after Caleb Farley got hurt, which was, if you did the draft again today, where would Farley go? Farley's probably not going in the first round.
Probably not.
And so, what, is he a third-round pick, a fourth-round pick? I mean, now you're doubling the medical history because anybody can overlook an ACL. Jamison Williams went in the top 15 this year. He tore his ACL. Jeffrey Simmons tore his ACL. You can overlook an ACL. But the back and the ACL and the lack of football playing time since 2019. And so now it's like, wow, that's not good. You go through Burks at Arkansas, that was a bad boy. But ever since then, bad combine, bad pro days, according to Albert Breer, bad rookie minicamp, bad OTAs, quote-unquote, unavailable for mandatory minicamp. And here's a quarterback who's on the hot seat who's counting on him to replace A.J. Brown. That ain't good.
Well, and unless there's something that the Titans know about Treylon Burks that's just alleviating all of their worries that they're not going to tell us, so we still have that worry, I have to assume the Titans absolutely, positively are worried. Because even if there is some sort of top secret, condition that he's dealing with that they're not going to tell us.
G14 classified.
G14 classified. That makes them a little bit more confident. They still don't know. I mean, if he's still not out there, if he's still not 100% in practice, which we haven't seen him be since he's gotten here, then the question remains for us and for the Titans inside the building as well of what can he be? When will he be ready? It's all of the question marks that we have that they still have as well. So I have to think that they absolutely positively are worried. Now, the level of worriness might be different because they might have more information. But how are you not worried? If he can't get on the field, if he's on the bike today,
here's the question
how are you not worried?
Here's a question I want to know. If John Robinson knew just this. So Burks may go out there against the Giants. I actually have a theory on Burks that we'll get to in a second. But if John Robinson knew that it was going to be like this, since you drafted him, like it was going to be, the rookie mini camp and then the OTAs, and now he's on the bike, and, everybody lock your arms together, and let's hope, and let's, hope that he's ready to go against the Giants. If John Robinson knew that, would he have traded A.J. Brown?
That's a big question because I think that trading A.J. Brown was separate.
You don't think it was conditional on being able to draft Treylon Burks?
I think it was probably conditional on being able to draft someone, but I think that the Titans' minds were pretty made up about what they wanted to do with AJ.
So let's say that Burks went 16 and Jahan Dotson was there at 18. You think
they would have taken Jahan Dotson?
And Jahan Dotson's there.
Yes.
Okay. What if the Chargers had taken had taken Burks at 17, and there was no receiver?
You take Trevor Penning. You take an offensive lineman. And you address another need.
So you think that they were for sure done with AJ at that point?
I think so.
I don't think so. I think it's like one of those things that, and again, this is total just conspiracy theory. Well, it's not really conspiracy theory. I mean, it's just speculation. I wonder if it would have been one of those things that you read in a book 20 years later that's like, they almost traded A.J. Brown, but,
there wasn't another receiver
if that
available.
Guy was there. And so if you knew this about Burks, would this have changed your mind? Would you have told Philadelphia, who had a previous pick in that first round, I think in which they took Jordan Davis, the tackle out of Georgia, that if you had said, no, we have to have that 15th pick or that 14th pick and not the 18th pick because we don't value, we only have 5 receivers that we like and Dodson's still there. And would Burks, if they had known what they know now, would that have affected it?
But I guess I'll also ask you the night of the draft when they traded A.J. Brown. Did you think they have to take a wide receiver here? They're going to take a wide receiver here.
So I was actually on we took one break the whole night. That was it. They then traded AJ, and we was like, all right, back on because we were on the stream because the Preds had a game. And I said, okay. And I remember because there was all this, commotion of like, oh my God, they traded AJ. Now they're on the clock.
Yeah.
Now what
it
are
was
they
a
going to
whirlwind.
do? And I asked the question to the guys. I said, okay, do you go tackle or you go receiver here? Because they needed a tackle. But if they think Dylan Radins is going to be the right tackle and they thought Dylan Radins was going to be the right tackle then, which I'm still not sold on.
But did they think that Dylan Radins was going to be the tackle then? So that's why
They think he's a tackle now?
I don't think the trade was conditional. Do they think he's a tackle now, or does he have to be a tackle now?
Well, he's the tackle. He's the right he is going to start at right tackle for the Titans.
But that's why I don't think that the trade was conditional on Burks or just a wide receiver.
But we
don't know this, but this is just my thought. This is my theory that they had needs at tackle, they had needs at receiver, they had needs elsewhere. That they could have addressed the hole that was created when trading AJ with a wide receiver that was possibly available there. And if there wasn't, they could address the tackle need and address the receiver in the second round. Because this was a very deep
They could have addressed
receiver
at 26.
Yes.
Because they had the 26th pick, even when they got the 18th pick, and then they traded out of the 26th pick. Now, you wouldn't have Petit Ferrer, obviously, because you took the tackle at that spot. And you wouldn't have Malik Willis.
Yeah.
So that's what you wouldn't have. I don't know.
I mean, maybe you'd have Malik Willis. I mean, there weren't many takers.
Aaron Rodgers said that Green Bay had those two picks, I think, right in front of the Titans. Or I think one was right in front of the Titans, the other was right behind the Titans. And they didn't go receiver. And Aaron was like, yeah, I was told we had 6 guys that had first-round grades, and so that's why we went with the linebacker and the defensive tackle. And so add that to the list again, 615-737-1025. 2 unavailable players, Simmons and Burks. I think they're for different reasons. We're to your phones on this next, 615-737-1025. Stillman and Company. It's ESPN 102.5 The Game.
Tomorrow, it's 615 Day. Presented by Cartronics. Live from Ford Ice Center in Antioch. Featuring fun for the whole family. Benefiting boys and girls clubs of Middle Tennessee. For more information, visit theGameNashville.com or text Prez to 76278 for exclusive silent auction items. We are Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And on the Game Nashville app.
From Fox 17 News, this is a Code Red weather alert.
I'm Fox 17 News Code Red meteorologist Dan Guthrie. More heat and humidity this afternoon. In fact, we're likely looking at a new record high of 99 degrees. Heat index values in the triple digits.
This weather report brought to you by Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical.
Call the Happy Face Truck today.
Don't miss the Electronic Express Father's Day sale. Save big on Father's Day gifts from brands like Charbroil, Yeti, Samsung, GE, Sony, and more. Electronic Express has huge savings in every department. Outdoor living, appliances, 4K TVs, smart home, furniture, and more. Save up to 40% on all appliances with up to 36 months free financing. Shop in-store or online at electronicexpress.com and get free express delivery on most items. Electronic Express. We make Father's Day happen.
Time is running out on the hottest finance offer of the year at Genesis Diamonds. Now through June 18th, you can get 5 years zero-interest financing on practically anything and everything. A $10,000 handcrafted Tacori ring comes to just $167 a month. Surprise them with something memorable. Put nothing down and pay absolutely nothing in interest for 5 whole years. Wedding bands for just $40 a month. Stud earrings just $30 a month. Don't miss this amazing offer. But hurry, it ends June 18th at 5 p.m. Genesis Diamonds, Green Hills and Cool Springs. On approved credit.
You know it's going to happen, and when your car needs service or repair, remember Mitchell's Mr. Transmission on Gallatin Road, just north of Briley Parkway. Now here's Jim Mitchell.
Our fleet vehicle program is a great benefit to all the fleet companies in Nashville. We are able to get their vehicle back on the road a lot quicker than the downtime of most dealers and most general repair shops, simply because we have the transmissions available. We're able to put priority on their vehicles to get them back on the road quickly.
You know it's going to happen, and when your car needs service or repair, remember Mitchell's Mr. Transmission on Gallatin Road, just north of Briley Parkway.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack. Sure, you can post your job to some job board, but then all you can do is hope the right person comes along, which is why you should try ZipRecruiter for free at ziprecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter doesn't depend on candidates finding you. it finds them for you. Its powerful technology identifies people with the right experience and actively invites them to apply to your job. You get qualified candidates fast. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you what you're looking for. The needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. That's ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter.com/radio.
Robbie Stanley.
To avoid non-contact injuries and not repeat last year.
Joe Rexroad.
Just wait until next year's national TV schedule comes out.
Robbie and Rexroad. Mornings from 6 to 10 on Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And on the Game Nashville app. You're listening to Stillman and Company.
Sounds like this has been a game-changing day for all of us.
Presented by TriStar Movie.
on ESPN
102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And on the Game Nashville app.
Just unavailable.
Contract deal going on?
Unavailable. That's how we're going to go when guys don't practice and it's not an injury report.
Same deal with Traylon?
Unavailable.
Unavailable, says Mike Vrabel. Let's go to your phone, 615-737-1025. Phone line and text line driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com.
Andrew texts in and says, I don't want to pay Derrick Henry. He's a running back. I didn't want to pay AJ. He's a hurt crybaby that can't catch. But pay Big Jeff whatever it takes. He's worth every penny.
So here's the thing. They're not, this again, and I shouldn't speak in absolutes here. I think the Titans want to pay Jeffrey Simmons. I think they want to pay Jeffrey Simmons and give him a long-term contract. But if you were to buy a car and you were to really, really want a certain car and the car dealer wanted you to pay $50,000 for it and you thought you could get the car for $40,000,
then why would you pay $50?
Why would you want to automatically say, here's $50,000? And so when it comes to
Even when you already have the car for 3 more years.
When it comes to Simmons, Aaron Donald threatened retirement. And that's why Aaron Donald got the contract extension. Cooper Kupp got the contract extension because it was like, let's just do this now so we don't have to do it later. Because the price right now for
the
Cooper
market's
Kupp
just going to go up and
is $26.1 million, and the contract down the road for Cooper Kupp would probably be $30 million. So instead of doing it like, well, we might as well just do it now. Jeffrey Simmons doesn't have Aaron Donald money yet. He can't, I mean, I guess in theory he probably has enough money to retire right now, but not probably retire and live the life that I would assume that he wants to live and the generational wealth that will come from whatever next contract he signs.
Mm-hmm.
But the Titans have him for $2.2 million this year, $10.7 million next year, and then the tag, which this past year was $17.3, we've added $5 million to just because it's going to go up as prices go up. And you're looking, we conservatively say $35 million over the next 3 years for Simmons, which equals 11.6, which would make him the 13th highest paid defensive tackle in the NFL. He ain't going to be cool with that. And honestly, he probably shouldn't be cool with that. But that is what negotiating is called. So if Simmons goes to them and says, DeForest Buckner's 21, Aaron Donald's 31, I think I'm in between that. I think I don't know, let's throw out a number. 26. I think I'm 26. The Titans know they're not going to get Simmons for 11. Like, they know that. Mm-hmm. But they're also going to go to Simmons and say, you think you're worth 26. I get it, but we have you for 11 over the next 3 years. So let's wiggle that down some, and then maybe it's $22 million over the next 5 years for Jeffrey Simmons. And so it's like, hey, you get cost certainty on the back end, but on the front end, you're going to get paid more than you would originally make to begin with. And that's negotiating. So the idea of the texture of you got to pay Jeffrey Simmons whatever he wants. No, you don't. The question is, does Jeffrey Simmons understand this? Because he's his own agent. AJ, one, did not understand it. And from everybody I've talked to who was not a part of that negotiation, it sounds like he got bad advice from his agent, Tory Dandy. And it sounds like AJ's agent really was trying to go for a big splashy signing
for himself
that would make him look like, hey, I'm still the wide receiver agent. And it worked. I felt like AJ got totally manipulated. And that's where you hear, I mean, think about this. AJ signed for $53 million guaranteed dollars. $53 million. Now, I don't know what the state income tax rate is in Philadelphia, and I'm also not the after taxes guy. But if it was my money, I would care about that. AJ reportedly demanded $80 million in guarantees from the Titans, as reported by TD. Now, AJ told TD he was willing to take $22 million. Do you think that the Titans are the ones that told TD that AJ demanded $80 million? No. Or do you think AJ told TD that he was demanding $80 million?
I think that was probably the Titans.
Okay. So if the Titans are telling TD that AJ was demanding $80 million, and AJ is telling TD, I would have taken $22 million.
Someone's lying.
Somebody is not telling the truth. And who's the person going in between the two? Who's the person that was telling TD? AJ told TD that the Titans offered him $16 million with incentives to $20. TD reported that his sources told him the Titans did in fact offer $20 million. Again, who do you think told TD that they actually offered $20 million?
The Titans.
The Titans. So somebody's not telling the truth. And I think there's a chance that it was the agent that was not telling the truth. And this goes back to Simmons, which is, is Simmons, man, it's hard to have business discussions with people that you already have a relationship with that is beyond a business relationship. And I've negotiated deals on my own behalf, and I've had other people negotiate deals on my behalf. And I got to be honest with you, I prefer, even when they're not contentious negotiations, and I don't think I've ever really had a contentious negotiation in my life. I'd rather have somebody else do the negotiating for me because it's not fun. And it almost becomes very personal because when you put everything in you into what you do, and I assume Simmons does, and I assume AJ does too, when you do that, it's almost like these people don't respect me. These people don't trust me. These people don't believe in me. And it's like, dude, it's business.
It's really not about that.
So the idea of give Jeff whatever he wants, that's not how this business works. And the Titans shouldn't do that. What's next?
Another texter checks in and says, why are all of our first-round picks always duds here recently?
Not Simmons.
Well, after Simmons, it hasn't been very hot.
I would say that as far as the drafting is concerned, I don't get it.
How much do you think the COVID situation has played into the last couple of years? And the lack of
I'll be completely honest with you. Zero.
I think that is an excuse that isn't necessarily justified. 2020, fine. 2021, no.
Think about Jerry Jones. So let's just use the last, since COVID. Jerry Jones, the old coot that he is, and he's a good businessman and he belongs in the Hall of Fame, but I don't think he's a great general manager. Now, the Cowboys have a very good personnel department, and I don't know how much that has to do with Jerry. But ultimately, especially when it comes to the first round, Jerry's making the call. They've taken, since COVID, with this old man, they have taken CeeDee Lamb and Trayvon Diggs in 2020. They took Micah Parsons in 2021. And they took this tackle who's probably going to start at right tackle for them this year. Now, I have no idea if that guy's any good, but at least I haven't heard a report that he couldn't make it through rookie minicamp. In the same time, the Titans, have taken Isaiah Wilson, Christian Fulton, who's solid, but he ain't Trayvon Diggs.
No.
Christian Fulton, Caleb Farley, who hasn't played and as of right now is not Trayvon Diggs, and he certainly isn't Micah Parsons. Now, Dallas is picking higher than the Titans because they're not as good. But still, Caleb Farley, Dylan Radins, and now Traylon Burks, who can't get through these practices.
But that's the kicker, is you say the Cowboys are picking higher than the Titans because they're not as good.
Except the Burks pick was ahead of the Cowboys because they traded.
But look at who they've drafted in the past couple of years, and they're still not as good as the Titans, which is wild to me that the Titans have found so much success drafting just terribly.
Why do you think, and we'll kick this around the room, why do you think the Titans finish better than the Cowboys and have, I believe, finished better than the Cowboys each of the last 3 seasons?
Coach.
I mean, it's that simple, right?
Yeah.
It's the coach.
But think about how good the Titans have been with first-round draft picks who have not contributed.
I know.
Think about how good they could be.
I know. Well, okay, let me ask you this question.
Okay.
If Jerry promised to stay out of it and Vrabel coached the Cowboys, how good would the Cowboys be?
Super Bowl contenders?
I mean, I certainly think they'd be better than they are. I mean, I think that Dak is probably a little bit better than Tannehill, but not that much better than Tannehill. I am not a huge Dak guy. Derrick Henry's better than Zeke.
Mm-hmm.
The Cowboys' offensive line and the Titans' offensive line are probably about even. Cowboys have better receivers. Cowboys have probably more high-end talent on defense. The Titans probably have a better overall defense. And the Cowboys have
a better
teams.
secondary.
Yeah, but the Titans probably as a whole have a better defensive line.
Mm-hmm.
Then again, Dallas has DeMarcus Lawrence, who's been hurt a bunch, over the past couple of years, and Micah Parsons is awesome. I mean, I'd say Dallas probably has a little bit more talent than the Titans.
Probably
Just
so.
pure roster. Cowboys or Titans?
Probably Cowboys.
Ian.
I'd have to do a little bit deeper dive, but I don't know, maybe slightly Cowboys.
I think I'd go Cowboys too.
Mm-hmm.
The difference is the coach.
It's the coach.
It's the coach. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. Speaking of Derrick Henry, we heard the rumblings from Jeremy Fowler about his contract. There's been a lot of talk about Derrick's contract. So guess who decided to ask Derrick about Derrick's contract? Oh, that would be me. What Derrick had to say and why it stood out compared to what Derrick has said in the past. We'll get to that next. Stillman and Company right here. It's ESPN 102.5 The Game.
Heads up. 106.3 FM is a new way to hear 102.5 The Game from downtown Nashville to Spring Hill on I-65 and on I-24 to Murfreesboro.
Make sure you have that preset on your radio dial.
We're making it even easier to listen to Nashville's best sports talk.
This is going to be awesome. It's like, yes.
Tune in to 106.3.
That's what makes this team better.
And hear the difference.
ElectronicExpress.com. We make it happen.
This segment of ESPN 102.5 The Game is brought to you by Train Heating and Cooling Systems. Tested, retested, engineered, and re-engineered to keep up with you. We run together. Visit traininfo.com to find your local independent Train dealer. Traininfo.com. It's hard to stop a train.
Erectile dysfunction ruins sex, but it's more than that. It harms otherwise good relationships. It destroys marriages. It can cause depression and anxiety, and it can be extremely hard on a man's self-esteem. This is Kim for the Tennessee Men's Clinic, and if you're suffering with ED, if it's affecting you, I want you to know that if you're like most men, we can treat it and get you back to the man you used to be. At the Tennessee Men's Clinic, we're ED experts. Our protocols have success rates as high as 90%. We've successfully treated thousands of men in the Music City, and we have a variety of treatment options and treatment combinations that could have you performing like you haven't in years. You could even last up to an hour and experience great sex again that is satisfying for both you and your partner. In treating your health, expertise matters. So make an appointment today. Your initial appointment is only $99 and includes blood work and a medical consult. Call 615-208-9090 or go to TennesseeMen'sClinic.com. Visit our website to learn more, including side effects. Treatments extra. Results vary.
Post Malone, the 12 Carat Tour. The long-awaited event comes to Nashville with special guest Roddy Ricch. Bridgestone Arena, October 16th. Pre-sale for City Card members now through Thursday at 10 p.m. before the general public on sale Friday at 10 a.m. Get tickets at livenation.com. New album 12 Carat Toothache available everywhere.
From the Hillside Medical Game Studios, WPRT-FM Pegram, WPUC HD2 Laverne,
Robbie and Rex Road to DDC.
Stillman and Company, Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 and 106.3.
Terang, it's a high fly ball.
The leading receiver.
Awesome game 7.
Checker flag in the air. The Game.
A Cromwell media station.
Where you have a voice.
We're one play away from an injury.
He knows this. He's a study of the game.
And we have strong opinions.
He's been awful. I don't think they were trying, and that's why I feel the way I feel.
This is Stillman and Company with Jared Stillman and Caroline Fenton. Presented by TriStar Moving on Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And on the Game Nashville app.
Stillman and Company is delivered by TriStar Moving, ESPN 102.5 The Game. Streaming live on Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook Live. Thanks to the law offices of Amanda Gentry. Live from the Hillside Medical Game Studios. So Derrick Henry showed up for mandatory minicamp and Derrick Henry met with the media. And I will say this. Derrick was asked about why he didn't show up at OTAs. I think I was the one who asked him that. Derrick was asked why he didn't show up at OTAs, and he said, well, in 2020, we didn't have OTAs because of COVID. Last year, we didn't, so if it's not broke, why fix it? And even though I don't totally love that answer, it does check out. Okay, fine. That answer checks out. Although, I do think that Derrick needs to become the seminal leader of the Tennessee Titans.
But I think that's the same argument that a lot of people have used, even myself, as to why Derrick Henry wasn't there, was if it's not broke, don't fix it.
Well, it is very convenient to be able to use that as well. Well, it could have been that
when you rush for 2,000 yards, yes, you can justify a lot of things.
So, the big question, though, is the contract. Because we had been talking about that for weeks. People had been opining about that. And I know this because when TD reported that Derrick Henry was going to report to mandatory minicamp, all of Titans Twitter and everybody else was like, oh, there you go. And how many people were like, oh, Jared, there you go. You said he wasn't, whatever. So Jeremy Fowler reported a couple weeks ago that the Titans were open to working on a new contract with Derrick Henry. Well, I did some digging, and I don't think that came from the Titans. I think that came from Derrick's people, which, as we said, Derrick absolutely, positively does not want to be a distraction to his team. And so I asked Derrick about those reports. And what I was expecting Derrick to say and what Derrick did say were two totally different things. Here was Derrick Henry on the idea of a new contract with the Titans. Derrick, there was a report that the Titans would be open to working on a new contract with you. Would you be excited about that? How would you feel about the idea of working on a new contract with the Titans?
It's always good to get a promotion at your job. When you think so, you get a promotion. That's always good. But, yeah, man, I'm just trying to work through that. I'm currently still on a contract, and if that's what the future holds, then, yeah, that'd be great.
Okay. Translation?
Yes, I want a new contract.
I want a new contract. That is what he said. And, again, that's only newsworthy if you compare it to what he said in the past. So this was 3 years ago, 2019, when Derrick, just like everybody, like Nate Davis and Amani Hooker and that entire David Long and all those guys that are, in the last years of their contract, Derrick was asked then at the opening of training camp about his contract. Here's what Derrick said then.
First contract year of your career, how do you avoid letting that become a distraction?
Can't worry about that. Next question. No concern for me.
No extra motivation, no extra pressure?
No, it's football. I fell in love with it before the money. I love football, so.
Don't talk to me about it. So, 3 years ago, when it was much easier to talk about when you're not under contract. It's much easier to say, oh, I'd love to be here with the Titans, and this team means so much to me, and la, la, la. He didn't say that. He was, next question. I love football. I don't talk contract money. It's not. Derrick, how would you feel about it? Yes, this year. What do we make of that dichotomy?
Well, I think it's because he understands that he doesn't have as much leverage this year as he did 3 years ago. 3 years ago, he was younger and he was healthier. Now he's coming off of a broken foot. He's older. He's, toward the end of, the lifespan of a running back in the league. So I think he understands that now it's something that has to be kind of champion for on him and on his own.
But he didn't want he didn't want a promotion then, according to him?
Well, he had a lot more leverage then.
So here's what's crazy.
I don't think he had to champion for himself as much as he does now.
Here's what's crazy. At that point in time, I think you're half right. Derrick didn't have probably more leverage then because at that point, Derrick had 4 good games as an elite running back. Now he's got 2 rushing titles, a 2,000-yard season, a couple of 200-yard games in the playoffs, and yet when Derrick Henry was 25, when they were having that last discussion, it was like, he's got plenty of years left.
Yeah.
They didn't even really use him the first 3 years. Now I think there's a big discussion about, does Derrick have years left? He's 28, and I don't know when his birthday is, so I don't know if he's playing this upcoming season at 28 or if he's playing at 20, which I probably should have looked up. But he's 28 years old, and so if you were to give him, more guaranteed money.
His birthday's in January.
Okay, so you're guaranteeing more money for a 28-year-old than a 29-year-old running back. And 30, I guarantee you, with almost every team in the league, I think 30 is the line in the sand, which is, Derek, you could rush for 2,000 yards at 29 years old, and we're not guaranteeing you any money at 30, because that's just how people feel about that position and that age. And so he's fighting against essentially the history of the position when it comes to giving him more guaranteed money here. There, it was Derek's had 4 or 5 good games in his career, and he's got to go prove that he's a top back, and he's got to go prove that he can do this for a full season. And so he could let the game do his talking. Now that he's under contract for this year and next year, even if his game does his talking, the Titans aren't going to guarantee that $15 million until week 1 of next year. And they're not going to guarantee the $12 million until week 1 of this year. And I think Derek's probably looking at it saying, like, hey, man, like, I've been pretty good, guys. Like, I've been pretty good around here. Like, I got a daughter, need a little bit more. I need insurance. I would prefer a little bit more security. And so that's what I think they're doing. And he said they're working through it. Now, I don't know if that was just, the traditional of, what's a generic thing that I can say about my contract. But he said they're working through it. So all I can take off of that is that they are, in fact, working through it. And it wouldn't surprise me, even though they don't have to, it wouldn't surprise me if the Titans guarantee a little bit of money on next year. And I go back to the Aaron Donald, Cooper Kupp kind of thing with the Rams. I don't think it's that they have to. I don't think it's, well, the Rams decided to pay Cooper Kupp and the Rams decided to pay Aaron Donald, so now the Titans have to pay Derrick Henry. I don't think it's that. I think it's more so the idea of, let's show the whole team that if you do what you're supposed to do and you say what you're supposed to do and you say what you're supposed to say, then they'll give you what you want or something like that.
Because I do think that the AJ contract situation did show something about the Titans and their willingness to pay their top players.
The AJ contract showed that?
Yes.
Even though they didn't?
That's exactly what it showed, is that they're not willing to pay their top players.
Oh, yeah. I mean, Joe Rexrode. So we've been over this, like, cash spent thing. Mm-hmm. And the Titans, I believe, were top 5 last year. I think the Titans spent more money, like more actual physical money on players last year than the Rams. And which should tell you how much money they spent on their roster last year. And then after they traded AJ, people, and nobody who mattered, but people were like, oh, yep, there's the Titans. They're cheap. And Joe was echoing that sentiment. And I'm like, the Titans are so not cheap. But if that reputation is out there, it's not like, the reputation of your quarterback's no good. Well, that doesn't matter because if my quarterback goes out there, another quarterback. Or if my quarterback is good and everybody says he's not good, he goes out there and he beats you, then all this stuff. Did you see Tyreek Hill came out and said that Tua is more accurate than Patrick Mahomes?
Yes, I did see that.
I don't care about that because if Tua is actually more accurate than Patrick Mahomes, then Tua with these wide receivers will go out there and throw for 5,000 yards this year, and everybody will be like, oh, I guess I was wrong on Tua. But so, I mean, that is, right now Tua doesn't have that reputation, and it doesn't matter what Tyreek Hill says. It matters what Tua does. But the reputation of being cheap, that is something that probably plays a line into, how is Jeffrey Simmons going to react when the Titans look at him and say, hey, I know you want $26 million or whatever he wants, which we don't know. I know you want in between Aaron Donald and DeForest Buckner money, but we own your rights for $11.6 million over the next 3 years. So we're going to need a little bit of a hometown discount. And then, he puts his arms in. So wait a minute, you guys are cheap holding. I'm out here dominating in this playoff game and all this. Like, I see both sides of it. And so maybe you look at it and say, okay, you're going to guarantee Derek his money week 1 anyways, right? So maybe you restructure his contract and you add a third year in there, which can easily be taken down. As Jeremy Fowler wrote in the ESPN.com article with quote-unquote escape hatches so the Titans can get out of it for the age 30 season. But you technically extend it with a real year, and the only reason you have to extend it with a real year is because you can't use the void years, and where you get into like the nerd CBA contract talk. If they use the void years, they can't franchise tag him. Mm-hmm. So I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to commit to Derek for 2 years and then not be able to franchise tag him after the third year. I want to be able to tag him. So you figure out what that tag would be. You make that third year, whatever that tag's going to do, whatever it's going to be, you essentially restructure the contract without technically restructuring it. So you give him his money for this year up front to create the phony baloney cap space, but then maybe add a little bit of dead money to next year if Derek doesn't play well. But then that way, everybody's happy.
You take care of Derek, and you also don't get yourself involved in a contract that's really going to set you up for failure at the latter end of it.
And again, according to the Fowler report, which we don't think came from the Titans, which means it probably came from Derek. We think that they put in there that they're open to escape hatches. They know. Derek knows. Everybody knows the score. And I got to say, Derek being there today makes me want to do this for him more.
Mm-hmm.
Derek's attitude makes me want this for him more.
His attitude that he's had his entire career.
Yeah. And you can't bank. Derek today was asked about a lot. Do you feel like you're the same Derek and all that kind of stuff?
Mm-hmm.
I have a thought on that. Let's just get to that on the other side. But let's get your Derek thoughts in. 615-737-1025. Derek wants a new contract. And the Titans absolutely, positively do not have to give him one. Your thoughts on that? And then Derek was asked a lot about, does he feel like he's the old Derek? And I have a take on that. Not what he said, but kind of on the attitude, both of the questions and his answers. I'll explain what I mean by that. 615-737-1025, and we'll get to that coming up next. 615-737-1025. Hey, tomorrow, by the way, if you do not like me, you will want to listen to the end of this read. Tomorrow, 102.5, 106.3 The Game, and 102.9 The Buzz and the Nashville Predators are hosting a 615-day celebration at Ford Ice Center, Antioch, starting at 10 a.m. Proceeds will be benefiting the Boys and Girls Clubs of Middle Tennessee. This event will feature fun for the whole family with games, giveaways, food, and ice skating opportunities. Now, I don't know, the logistics of all of this. I have signed up at 12:30 tomorrow to be in the dunk tank. I don't know how long I'll be in the dunk tank for, but I have signed up to be in the dunk tank at 12:30 tomorrow. And so if you want to, I guess I've never sat in a dunk tank before. I assume that they throw baseballs at the little thing, and if you hit the baseball hits the thing, then Jared goes in the dunk tank. So if you want to raise some money for the Boys and Girls Club, and if you hate me and you want to put me in the dunk tank, that's the way to do it. And right now you can bid on silent auction items, which include Pred's autographed merch and more, and donations are being accepted for the Boys and Girls Clubs of Middle Tennessee. Just visit thegamenashville.com/615day.
Let's put the green flag in the air and turn them loose.
Nashville's home for NASCAR.
He's going to try to make a big move here.
Is brought to you by the Nashville Super Speedway. We are your racing station.
ESPN
102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And the Game Nashville app.
The Jack Harlow meal from KFC is here. Try Jack's favorite meal from KFC. Order your Jack Harlow meal on the KFC app. That's finger-licking good. Prices and participation may vary. Tax and substitutions extra.
Interest rates may be rising elsewhere, but not at Genesis Diamond. Now through June 18, you can get 0 interest for 5 whole years. That's right. Buy now, pay nothing down, and spread your payments over 5 years without a dime in interest. Only Genesis can make an offer like this on rings, earrings, pendants, bands, designer jewelry, even GIA certified diamonds. There's just one catch. This is a limited time offer and it ends June 18. 5 years, 0 interest financing with nothing down at Genesis Diamonds, Green Hills and Cool Springs on approved credit.
Hello, Nashville. Looking to save money on your wireless bill? You can when you choose Consumer Cellular. Sign up today and you'll get the exact same coverage as the leading carriers for half the cost. This gives you direct access to the widest, most established cellular networks available. Consumer Cellular offers flexible monthly plans with no contract and simple, affordable service that's perfect for your lifestyle and budget. Featuring a wide variety of top-of-the-line phones from Samsung, Motorola, and Apple, you'll find a phone that's perfect for you. Everything is backed by a 100% risk-free guarantee, plus 100% U.S.-based award-winning customer support. Switch your talk, text, and data plan before July 31st and get $100 on every new line of service. Right-size your plan and downsize your bill with Consumer Cellular. Visit consumercellular.com/Nashville100 and enter code Nashville100 to start saving today.
Hey, Nashville, it's Chase McCabe, Program Director of ESPN 102.5 The Game, and there's a new way that you can hear Nashville's best sports talk. It's on 106.3 FM. From downtown Nashville to Spring Hill on I-65 and to Murfreesboro on I-24, you now have two choices to hear our great sports talk programming. And, of course, the Nashville Predators. Check out 106.3 now and save it as a preset.
Hey, Willie Donick here. Are you feeling the sting of higher interest rates and higher costs? Those credit cards and other loans are costing more and more every month, and inflation is making everything else more expensive. Your home can save you right now. Your home's value is up, and there's a ton of cash in it, and you can access it with Loan Pronto. They specialize in zero-cost cash-out home refis. Get tens of thousands in as little as 2 weeks. And yes, VA loans are eligible. With a VA loan, you can access up to 100% of your home's value. So pay off high-rate credit cards and other loans. Consolidate everything into one super low payment. People who do this usually cut about $800 or more from their monthly budget. So if your home mortgage rate goes up a point or so, it's offset by your credit card rate going to zero. So call Loan Pronto and unlock that equity and wipe out the bad debt. 615-499-5780. That's 615-499-5780 or go to loanpronto.com. Equal housing lender, NMLS 166-1781, subject to lender approval.
We want to hear from you.
Thanks for taking the call.
Join the conversation. Call or text at 615-737-1025. Driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. You're listening to Stillman and Company.
Presented by TriStar Moving.
On ESPN 102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And on the Game Nashville app.
What would you say the status of the foot is at this point?
How long since it's been since I played? Foot good. Foot is good.
I was going to say, do you feel like you're pre-injury, Derrick Henry, in terms of the foot and so forth?
Yeah, I feel good. I feel real good.
Yeah, I feel good. So
Foot is good.
Derrick Henry was asked about that again. You know, like, do you feel like the pre-injury Derrick? And I almost think Derrick kind of laughed because it was like, I mean, I played in the Bengals game, didn't I? Yeah, Derrick.
Yeah, but it wasn't that good.
You weren't very good that game. No, for whatever reason, whether it was because they ran the ball in obvious give it to Derrick moments. Oh, 2-point conversion on the half-yard line. I wonder who's getting the ball. Which, again, may not be Derrick's fault. But, I mean, I hate to say it. We all remember the fact that Deontay Foreman ripped off a 60-yard. Where's that been? But I say this because Derrick told everybody today he feels like the same old Derrick. He's working like the same old Derrick. And I think a lot of Titan fans hear that and are almost put at ease or feel better about it. Or they're like, yeah, he says he's the same old Derrick, so he's the same old Derrick. And I'm not ruling out any possibility with Derrick Henry. I am not ruling out that he's going to go out there and run for 2,000 yards next year. I could see it. But I also think when it comes to Derrick's contract and it comes to Derrick's future and it comes to whether or not he is the old Derrick, I think the Titans are pretty much in a wait-and-see approach. And that's the approach they should be in. Because as far as me committing actual skin into the idea of, hey, Derrick Henry is going to prove to us that that foot injury was nothing, that the age of the running back doesn't affect him, that he is going to march his way into Canton and he's going to show everybody. Maybe, but I have to see it. And because of the position, I'm not doubting the man. And I love Derrick, and I love his attitude, and I love everything he's about, and I'm glad that he's on the team that I root for. But I have to see it. I'm not jumping to this. Because I remember when Eddie George, I'd say it, fell off a cliff. And the Titans were lucky because Steve McNair was the quarterback, and Derrick Mason emerged as a true, legitimate number one receiver. And they had signed Drew Bennett as an undrafted free agent, and he was starting to emerge a little bit. And Justin McCarons was coming along as the number 2 receiver. And all of a sudden, the Titans, who were run defense, run defense, now all of a sudden had the league MVP at quarterback. That ain't going to be the case with Ryan Tannehill. So, I mean, I remember what Eddie George looked like when he really wasn't much of a factor anymore. And the Titans can't commit themselves to putting Derrick in that situation. Derrick has to prove that he's not that. And I hate it because I love Derrick, and I don't want this to sound like it's a slight at Derrick, but he's a 28-year-old running back coming off of an injury. And I, again, feel like I'm marginalizing how special of a player he is by saying that.
He is special.
But that's the reality of the situation.
And I think that is kind of the obvious avenue for the Titans is wait and see what Derrick Henry can be. I think that's the obvious choice here. But I think that's also what makes it so difficult for me to kind of put my finger on exactly what this team can be this year is because that it is a wait and see situation with Derrick Henry. I mean, the success of this offense really lies on Derrick Henry's shoulders. I know Derrick Henry was out. I know that the Titans were still able to get the top seed in the AFC when Derrick Henry was out for part of the season. I understand that. But if you don't know how good Derrick Henry can be this season, how can you really kind of encapsulate how good you think the Titans can be?
What do you think? What are your expectations for Derrick Henry this year?
I would say probably like 1,500 yards.
Would you be shocked if he doesn't do that this year?
No.
Would you be shocked if he shows age, if he shows wear, if he gets hurt again, if he
No,
would you be shocked?
I wouldn't be shocked.
Okay. Now let me say this. Would you be shocked if Kevin Byard was terrible this year?
Yes.
See, that's the point.
Yeah.
That's I mean, again, it's nothing against Derrick. It's just it's football, and he's a running back.
That's what happens.
And he's 28.
And that's why the Titans are in a great position to be able to afford the year of wait and see with Derrick Henry.
There is a lot of argument about whether or not that foot injury was a wear and tear injury. I don't think it was.
I have to think it was a turf thing, that his foot got caught weird in the turf, and that was it.
I don't think it was, but I would like them to use him less. They may not have a choice. Let's go to your phones. Phone lines are driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com.
One texter checks in and says, give Derrick Henry some rest. I want to see what Hassan Haskins can do.
I will say this. Hassan Haskins had a beautiful touchdown catch today.
Uh-huh.
I mean, they don't really run the ball in these things, so you're not going to really know. Though Haskins, I would assume, will get a lot of carries in the preseason with Malik Willis at quarterback.
Yeah.
Haskins had a beautiful touchdown catch today. Logan Woodside, I thought, now Joe thought it was a good throw, which probably tells me that it was a bad throw. But I thought Logan threw the ball behind Haskins, and Haskins had to make an adjustment on it in the end zone. And he kind of made the adjustment, turned his body, grabbed the football, and came down with it. And I saw that, and I was like, that was a heck of a catch from Hassan Haskins. Hassan Haskins is a sized running back. He is not Derrick Henry sized. So the idea of like, all right, let's run Hassan Haskins in there and see what happens, sure. I do think the Titans are in an okay spot that even if Haskins isn't that good, and I do think they have a huge special teams role for him in mind. I think they feel comfortable about Hilliard as the third down back. Let's say Haskins doesn't work out, which would be bad because after Darrington Evans, to have Haskins not work out would kind of be a pain in the ass. But let's say, just ignore Haskins for right now. I think they feel confident with Derrick and Hilliard after what Hilliard did last year, which is probably part of the reason why they didn't bring back Foreman, which I also thought was kind of stupid. I think they feel okay with that, so then add Haskins in there. I think they're fine with their running back depth. What's next?
Another texter texts in and says, do you think the talks at the new stadium has Amy Adams Strunk question the larger contracts, especially after the Julio and Clowney bus signings? We know Simmons deserves the money, but maybe Amy Adams Strunk is done throwing money away.
Okay. No. I hate to say, I hate to just sit there and say absolutely unequivocally no, but no. I don't think that she looks at the Julio Jones trade and contract and says, well, don't pay Jeffrey Simmons. I think she probably is concerned about some of the money that they've spent and how it hasn't panned out. And I'd be concerned too. But this could be like any team that signs somebody or trades somebody and they're not good. And then you wouldn't then all of a sudden question every single move. If the Dallas Cowboys were to go out there and say, well, we gave Zeke a big contract. We gave Amari Cooper a big contract, and that didn't work out. So are you sure we should give Dak Prescott a big contract? Well, Amari Cooper's contract doesn't have anything to do with Dak. Mm-hmm. And I feel the same way here. The new stadium. I have two thoughts on this, though. One is I could see the new stadium because the Titans have publicly said that they don't know if they're going to have new PSLs at the new stadium. Mm-hmm. But the fact that the Titans haven't said that they're not going to have new PSLs at the new stadium makes me think there's probably a pretty good chance they're going to have PSLs at the new stadium.
And that prints money.
Well, you got to get them sold, though.
That's true.
The Chargers have PSLs, and nobody's buying them. And that, like, the Chargers were supposed to pay the Rams X amount of money per year to be there.
Mm-hmm.
And after a year, it was like, yeah, we got to change the deal
Pay the
because
rent.
we don't have the money because we don't have the PSLs. And that's my point about PSLs, is that if you're Amy Adams Strunk and you're building a new stadium and you're trying to sell PSLs, well, you normally want star players to market for the PSLs. So then wouldn't you say, hey, we need to be more aggressive? Not now.
We need to spend money to make that money
in
back.
2026, we need to be more aggressive or whatever. On the flip side, I think the other part of it is that if you're about to put $700 million of your own money into something, wouldn't you then want to kind of cool it about, going over budget or spending over this? I mean, they've already got $240-something million in real cash for this season, and the cap is $208 million.
Mm-hmm.
So the Titans are paying, $35 million over the phony baloney cap, and they're about to put $700 million of their own money into the stadium. So then it would be like, hey, we need to kind of watch going over the budget here because we're about to spend $700 million of our own money on the stadium. But then at the same time, it's we want people to buy PSLs in our new stadium. And the only reason we're putting $700 million, and again, I don't know if they're going to have PSLs or not. They have not made that decision. I have a hard time seeing how they wouldn't do it just because of how sports works.
Mm-hmm.
But that's kind of where I feel like they're at. And if you're going to try to sell tickets into your new stadium and you're going to try to make the money that you spent back, you're going to have some good players. But I hate to say this. I remember when I was in science class one time, biology, freshman year at USN, and our biology teacher, this might have been another class I took by her later in my life, but I can't remember. But she said that, at some point the sun's going to burn out and everybody in the solar system that's living is going to die. And that would include everybody on Earth and everything else. So
did that stick with you?
Like 5 million years from now, the people that live on this planet are going to have to get, on rocket ships and go somewhere else. But she was like, by the time that happens, we'll all be gone and all of our descendants will be gone and our, descendants will be gone and whatever. And I was kind of like, nah, their problem. And I say this because by the time that new stadium's built, I love Derrick Henry. He ain't going to be on the Titans. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. Back to your phone, 615-737-1025. And again, Treylon Burks was out today. I do have a theory on Treylon Burks that I want to get into, 615-737-1025. And that's what we'll do. That's Stillman and Company right here at ESPN 102.5 The Game.
Hey, Preds fans.
Running across to make the save is Sarah.
You can now hear Nashville's best sports talk.
The backhander, he scores!
And every Predators game on 106.3 FM.
Oh, that was a thing of beauty.
From downtown Nashville to Rutherford and Williamson counties.
Duchesne with the overtime winner.
Catch all the action on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game.
Winning this award is truly like winning the Super Bowl of car dealer awards for Mercedes-Benz.
Edwin Vickery, General Manager of Mercedes-Benz of Music City.
Culture eats strategy for lunch. You have to hit on all cylinders to win this award. You can strategize all you want. You got to still have the right tools, and our tools are our people.
Live the dream with 3-time Mercedes-Benz Best of the Best Award winner, Mercedes-Benz of Music City. Go to mbofmc.com.
Don't miss the Electronic Express Father's Day sale. Save big on Father's Day gifts from brands like Charbroil, Yeti, Samsung, GE, Sony, and more. Electronic Express has huge savings in every department. Outdoor living, appliances, 4K TVs, smart home, furniture, and more. Save up to 40% on all appliances with up to 36 months free financing. Shop in-store or online at electronicexpress.com and get free express delivery on most items. Electronic Express. We make Father's Day happen.
We're in the most active season of the year right now, but if you've got joint pain, you may be on the sidelines. Hips, knees, back pain, shoulder pain. It sucks the fun out of living, but I've got the solution. QC Kinetics, helping people here in our listening area get the fun back. It's regenerative medicine. It's the hottest thing going. It's basically taking growth factors with the healing properties from your own body, highly concentrated, then putting them into your aching joints. This is exciting. It's in the office. It's non-surgical. No drugs, No surgery, no downtime. So stop putting it off. Call QC Kinetics and learn more about regenerative medicine and get a free in-office consultation now. Call the local medical professionals at QC Kinetics. 615-249-4024. That's 615-249-4024 for QC Kinetics. Repair and restore damaged tissue in your joints and get the long-lasting relief from pain.
It's time to tee it up at Edwin Watts Golf Shops for the hottest gifts for dads and grads, featuring TaylorMade Stealth Carbon Woods and the new Stealth Irons. The Carbon Woods feature carbon twist face technology, and the new Stealth Irons feature max forgiveness and explosive ball speed. And from Bushnell, the Tour V5 and Tour V5 Shift rangefinders inform you precisely how far you are from the pin. Whether you're a dad or grad, get a free custom fitting today. Edwin Watts Golf Shops, home of the 90-day satisfaction guarantee, and shop us online at worldwidegolfshops.com.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
Welcome to AutoZone. What are you working on today? Starting trouble. No one likes that. We'll get you set up for some stronger starts. You might just need a fresh charge, and we'll take care of that free of charge.
But if it is time for a new battery, we've got replacement batteries that'll fit your needs, starting at just $69.99.
You can learn more about our battery selection at AutoZone.com. That's what makes us America's #1 battery destination.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
Claim based on data from the NPD Group 2021.
Robbie and Rex Road here on ESPN.
Welcome into the DDC.
Stillman Company is delivered.
There's a new way to hear 102.5 The Game. Nashville's best sports talk on 106.3 FM. From downtown Nashville to Spring Hill on I-65 and to Murfreesboro on I-24. You now have two choices to hear our great sports programming.
Get the extra point, no problem.
And the Nashville Predators.
He scores!
Check out 106.3 now and save it as a preset.
Hey Nashville, this is Penny Hardaway, University of Memphis coach. You're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
Last season, you had a revolving door at receiver, tight end throughout training camp, throughout the season. Led to probably your worst season as a Titan. Does that concern you with Traylon's injury and the changeover at wide receiver that it hasn't been completely consistent as who you'll probably throw to in the games?
I'm not concerned. You have to go out there and make the plays regardless of what's going on. So I'm proud of the guys who have been out there and the progress we've made. Some guys were here last year, but we've had a lot of good reps, and I think we've gotten better, even the guys that were here last year. So excited for the progress we've made and look forward to carrying it in training camp.
You believe that?
Nope.
No!
Not a single word.
The total bullcrap. And I'll say this about Tannehill. I think Tannehill needs to start standing up for himself a little bit. Like, I know the leader of the team, he's got to have everybody's back. But I asked him, whenever the Malik Willis, comments went bananas, another question I asked in that press conference, I actually care way more about than I do about the Malik Willis one that went bananas. But I asked him about the difference between 2019 and 20 and 2021 because he sucked in 2021. And he was like, well, there's some different things there that he, whatever. Just some different things here, some different things there. You go back and look at it. A very vague answer that basically I interpreted as not my fault. But each individual one is different, which Vrabel kept saying throughout the course of the year. So it was like the Jets game when it's like, is it the offensive line or is it the lack of receivers? Because you can make the argument
could be both.
Josh Reynolds and those bums couldn't get open, and so Tannehill had to hold the ball. Or you could make the argument that the line didn't block. And the Titans would never tell you what the truth was, but the reality was probably somewhere around the middle, and it is probably kind of both.
A little bit of Todd Downing.
So Tannehill, when I asked him why he stunk last year compared to the other 2 years, kind of blew it off as, there were things here and there and whatever. And you could easily chalk that up to he was playing with a bunch of bums. That Pittsburgh game, when Julio Jones got hurt, Anthony Ferkser, who sucks, fumbled the football. Racey McMath, who sucks, fumbled the football. And he threw short of Nick Westbrook-Akina of the Sticks, who couldn't get the extra yard or didn't run to the Sticks. Again, we don't know what they were supposed to do. We don't know who was at fault, and they won't tell us. So we don't know whose fault that is. Tannehill sitting here saying, I'm not concerned about the fact that it was a rotating, revolving door last year. And it's like, well, dude, you're headed to the exact same situation you were headed to last year that everybody except for me seemed to make excuses for.
But if he talks about how, he needs a little bit more consistency, then he's throwing those guys under the bus. It's a really difficult position to be in.
I know, but sometimes you have to do it.
Do you? Do you
Yes.
have to throw Nick Westbrook-Akina under the bus?
You don't have to throw them under the bus, but sometimes you have to stand up for yourself. And I thought it was funny. I was listening to some of the post-game talk from the Celtics on Friday night because I was doing SiriusXM on Saturday. And when Jaylen Brown was asked about what the problem was offensively, and Jaylen Brown is a wing for the Celtics, when Jaylen Brown was asked what the problem was, Jaylen Brown was like, yeah, our veterans out here that are running the offense, we got to get set, however, this, that, like a very vague kind of crack at the point guards.
Mm-hmm.
Then both point guards, when they were asked about, what happened offensively, they were like, we can't just stand around. We got to move and run the offense. And so they were basically saying the wings weren't moving and the point guard's just there with the ball, so somebody's got to do something. And the wings were like, the point guards have to get us in the offense. And so even though they're not saying, yeah, that's not good, there's kind of a message that's sent there. And I think maybe, again, look, I mean, if Tannehill stinks it up, I'm not giving him the benefit of the doubt because he hasn't earned it. But at some point with this, if it is the line's fault, if it is the receivers, if it is the play caller, if it is, at some point the $38 million quarterback has to stand up for himself.
But what is he going to say?
So it's funny you say this. One time, Chipper Jones was injured, and John Smoltz, and I know this because I'm a Braves fan, this was like 2007, made a comment about how there are some guys out there that could probably play that aren't. And Chipper was mad, but played the next day. And then he told the media, now I know somebody who better not miss a start. And normally speaking, you don't want that for a team, but I sometimes think a little bit of that. Traylon Burks is a rookie. Ryan Tannehill is the quarterback. And I think there is a level of, again, it could be asthma, and everybody could be, patting Traylon on the butt saying, here we go. But I do think the one thing the Titans absolutely don't have is they don't have somebody that puts pressure on other people to say, hey, you need to do better. And sometimes you get that publicly. You may not like it, but it does push you in a certain direction when you hear certain things that are said about you. And it's like, well, I'll show him. And it could make things a little rocky, but then when things go well, then it's like, oh, now I see why you did what you did. But I'm just saying, for Tannehill to sit there and say, oh, I'm not concerned about it. Well, you play the Giants with Nick Westbrook-Akina starting at wide receiver, Cody Hollister, or Josh Malone, then I think that's an issue. I do think one thing I've noticed about the Titans at wide receiver is I believe the Titans last year looked at it like, okay, AJ, Julio, Chester Rogers in the slot, Marcus Johnson. Those are our four receivers, and everybody else has to be a special teams guy. So, and even Rogers was a special teams guy. So really, AJ, Julio, and Marcus Johnson, and everybody else has to be a special teams guy. So Westbrook-Akina was a special teams guy, and Racey McMath was a special teams guy, and they kept a bunch of special teams guys. Well, right now at receiver, Josh Malone is not a special teams guy. Dez Fitzpatrick, who did not make the team out of training camp last year, was not a special teams guy. And it wouldn't surprise me if they keep some extra not special teams guys receivers, even though that would limit what they would do on special teams, and that would mean that everybody that essentially plays defensive back would have to have a role on special teams, maybe even Kevin Byard at that once you get to that point. But I do think they're going to keep some extra outside receivers because last year they didn't have anybody extra outside. And so this upcoming season, I could see Josh Malone making the team. The argument being, well, the third outside receiver is Westbrook-Akina, but he does play special teams, so we can have a fourth outside receiver who doesn't play special teams, but then that guy's going to be standing on the sidelines with a helmet if everybody plays the way they're supposed to play. But again, I would say I do think Tannehill needs to stand up for himself a little bit. If he has a problem with the fact that Burks can't get on the field, but to his credit, and this will be more of a training camp thing than it will be a mini camp thing, Hooper and Woods have been on the field. And I think that he really does probably think those two guys are the most important two
guys. I do wonder, too, how much pressure is going on internally. Because...
like how much pressure he's putting on those guys internally?
Or him or
Zero!
Anyone. How do you know that?
Because Ryan Tannehill doesn't put pressure on people. That's not what he does.
But you're asking him to take a little bit more accountability, which would then put pressure on the receivers, which would then put pressure on the offensive line.
I'm asking him to do what he doesn't do.
Well,
and you're asking, do I think he could be doing it behind the scenes?
I mean,
no.
Okay.
But I do think Tannehill needs to stand up for himself. Again, you know me. How do I feel about Tannehill? I mean, I don't think you can win with him. And part of it is I don't think you can win with him because I don't think he's got the, King Richard inside of him to sit there and tell people what to do. I think he can, go over, hey, man, I want you to cut this in, a little bit or whatever. But Brady screams at people on the field. Aaron Rodgers can't go 5 minutes without telling everybody on the planet what he's mad about. And I'm not saying that I want Tannehill to start acting like Aaron Rodgers, but I do think there's an element of telling the guys, hey, I need you to play. Oh, well, my asthma, it's, what did Trevor say?
Figure it out.
And yet Tannehill's like, oh, no, I'm not concerned. You're not concerned going into week 2 at Buffalo with Cody Hollister and Nick Westbrook-Akina at wide receiver?
Let's say he today at the podium, he did say, yeah, I am concerned. I'm concerned about who I'm going to be throwing the ball to. I'm concerned that he's not going to be ready. What does that do?
If he says that?
Yeah.
I think what it would do. Now, I think Tannehill's also watching his P's and Q's right now after the Malik comments.
I think he kind of.
Which, in all seriousness, and I also think he's watching his P's and Q's when it comes to me. Like, I think when I ask a question, I think I asked 2 in the Tannehill press conference.
Uh-huh.
And I felt like Tannehill was, like, super guarded. But, again, that's just me. Maybe I'm overthinking it. But I do think if Tannehill were to say, yeah, it was a concern last year, and it was something that really held us back, I felt like, and obviously there are guys that aren't here anymore, and so it's new guys. But I do think, I've had the ability to have this with Robert, and I've had the ability to have this with Austin, and I've had the ability to have this with Nick, and I've had the ability with Josh, where he makes it obvious what he's talking about here with Burks. Then I think that maybe Burks, there might be a little animosity towards it.
Well, I did kind of hear it today a little bit.
I want to see, sometimes friction's not bad.
I did hear it today a little bit where he said, I've gotten to learn Robert, I've gotten to learn Austin, I've gotten to learn Traylon a little bit.
I think Tannehill was like kind of super guarded today.
I really don't blame him.
615.
He just got dragged through the mud.
I know, and I felt bad for that.
I don't think you need to feel bad.
I felt bad.
I feel bad for him that he had to go through that, but he did it to himself.
615-737-1025 is the phone number. I actually didn't get to my Burks theory because I got 2 in on that Tannehill clip. So I do have a Burks theory, and then we are to your phones. 615-737-1025 is our phone number if you want to get in. Again, that number is 615-737-1025. Let me tell all the fine folks out there that the Sounds travel to Memphis. We hate Memphis. The Sounds travel to Memphis for a 6-game series against the Memphis Are they the Memphis Cardinals?
They're the Memphis Redbirds.
Okay, because this says the Memphis Cardinals, and I know they're the Memphis Redbirds, but did they change their name?
Not that I know of. I thought it was always the Redbirds.
I mean...
And don't say we hate Memphis. I like Memphis. You hate Memphis.
This show hates Memphis.
No, I like Memphis.
Hates it. The series against the Memphis, I assume Redbirds, because they've been the Memphis Redbirds for 45 years. The Memphis Redbirds, the AAA affiliate of the St. Louis Cardinals. Catch all the action tonight on ESPN 94.9 at 7:05. Sounds Baseball is presented by 312 Pizza, Farm Bureau, and Farm Bureau Health Plans.
Join Chase McCabe for Chasing Checkers every Sunday morning at 8 for all the news in the world of motorsports.
Joey Logano gets the very first victory in the next-gen car
while hearing from the big names.
Two-time champion Kyle Busch.
Being able to bring NASCAR, the Cup Series, back to Nashville is cool.
It's Chasing Checkers, presented by Apple Collision Centers and the Nashville Fairgrounds Speedway
on ESPN
102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
From Fox 17 News, this is a Code Red weather alert.
I'm Fox 17 News Code Red meteorologist Dan Guthrie. More heat and humidity this afternoon. In fact, we're likely looking at a new record high of 99 degrees. Heat index values in the triple digits.
This weather report brought to you by Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical.
Call the Happy Face Truck today.
Long days? Longer to-do lists? Hire with Indeed. Their hiring platform lets you schedule and conduct virtual interviews all in one place. Learn more at Indeed.com/credit.
Parman Tractor and Equipment is your one-stop tractor and equipment solution. And Middle Tennessee's Link Belt and Takeuchi dealer. Rent or purchase a track loader, mini excavator, large excavators for your job site, or something in between. Parman is now hiring and seeking qualified candidates for construction equipment truck drivers, service technicians, and more. Apply at parmantractor.com or call 615-865-7800. Come be an employee owner with the Parman team, your Middle Tennessee Link Belt and Takeuchi dealer.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack. Sure, you can post your job to some job board, but then all you can do is hope the right person comes along, which is why you should try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter doesn't depend on candidates finding you. It finds them for you. Its powerful technology identifies people with the right experience and actively invites them to apply to your job. You get qualified candidates fast. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you what you're looking for. The needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. That's ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter.com/radio.
Join 102.9 The Buzz and ESPN 102.5 The Game in partnership with the Nashville Predators for 615 Day at the Ford Ice Center in Antioch. There will be tons of food, fun, and activities for the whole family. All proceeds raised on 615 Day go directly to benefit the Boys and Girls Club of Middle Tennessee to help kids like me, Jaden. Thank you so much for your support of the Boys and Girls Clubs. We will see you on 615 Day at the Ford Ice Center in Antioch.
Hey Nashville, it's Chase McKay, Program Director of ESPN 102.5 The Game, and there's a new way that you can hear Nashville's best sports talk. It's on 106.3 FM. From downtown Nashville to Spring Hill on I-65 and to Murfreesboro on I-24, you now have 2 choices to hear our great sports talk programming. And, of course, the Nashville Predators. Check out 106.3 now and save it as a preset.
Darren McFarland.
That's the most personality I think I've heard.
Willie Donick.
Give me credit. I said it.
Chase McCabe.
I still talk to people outside of this building.
The DDC. Weekdays from 10 to 2.
Presented by Spring Hill Heating and Cooling.
On Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And on the Game Nashville app. You're listening to Stillman and Company.
Sounds like this has been a game-changing day for all of us.
Presented by TriStar Moving.
on ESPN
102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And on the Game Nashville app.
A lot more said today that Traylon's been dealing with a setback from asthma. How confident are you that Traylon will get that worked out and be ready to go for the start of the training camp in the preseason?
Yeah, very confident. That's got a lot of confidence in all our players to prepare. And, we got a few weeks. Quite a few weeks here before we do go to training camp.
There you go. That was Vrabel last week. Traylon Burks today was
unavailable.
Unavailable, the official word from Mike Vrabel. I have a quick Traylon Burks theory that I'm right to your phones. I think that the Titans look at Burks and think, man, if he's in perfect shape and we can teach him the routes. Because remember, one of the knocks on Burks was that he really didn't run routes in Arkansas. He was just better than everyone. And, that works a lot of the time in basketball and where it's like, even baseball, you don't really know how to hit when you're in the minor leagues, but some guys are just more talented than other guys. But ultimately, major league pitchers are going to figure that out.
Right.
So you better make adjustments because they're going to make adjustments on you. But some guys are just so uber talented that in college or, the low levels of the minor leagues, they hit everything out of the park. I think the Titans are like, you know what? Let's just get him to the game. Even though he won't learn the routes that he has to learn, even though he won't be in the tip-top shape that we want him in, the Arkansas Burks, who reportedly played at 240 pounds, let's just get him to the game. Whatever it takes, Todd Torricelli, the trainer, whatever it takes to get Traylon Burks with a helmet on against the Giants, even if he doesn't really know the routes and he doesn't exactly know what he's doing, let's make up some plays, Todd Downing, to get him the football and just let him do his thing. Because at the end of the day, without technically knowing the routes, without having a great quarterback, without having a great team, Treylon Burks was one of probably the 5 most talented players in the SEC last year. So it's not going to be the best he can be, but let's just do it anyways.
Is that a theory based on something that you've seen or heard, or is that a theory based on what you want the Titans to do?
No, that's my theory on what I think is realistic at this point.
I mean, I really don't know if you have an option.
I mean, that's what it is.
I mean, yeah, because what if Treylon Burks doesn't play?
Well, then you would have to deactivate him, basically. You got to learn these routes, and you got to be able to run at this weight, and you got to be able to.
And then it's Nick Westbrook-Akina, it's
Cody
Cody Hollister. And
Josh Palmer's on the Chargers. He's good. Josh Malone is on the Titans.
Excuse me, Josh Malone. And it's no disrespect to them. However,
no.
Treylon Burks is the plan. Treylon Burks is the first-round pick. He needs to be on the field.
But
so,
that's not exactly what you want to do either. I mean, you want him to be the best version.
And that's another thing, too, is the confidence factor.
Abandoning hope of that actually being the case.
But the confidence factor, I think, is real.
With Burks?
Yes, of putting him out there on the field maybe before he's ready, and he just absolutely bombs.
Well, I'm more worried about him getting hurt.
That's another thing.
But, again, get him to the game, and let's see, and there you go. And that's kind of what they did with Albert Haynesworth for the first couple of years. Then they got Albert Haynesworth all figured out. So we'll see. Josh is up next here on Ryan Tannehill and Malik Willis. Thank you for calling. What's up, Josh?
Hey, what's going on? I'm a new listener. Love the show.
Thanks,
I wanted your opinion on the how soon into the season, if at all, do you think Malik Willis could take over the starting job? Because personally, I think if the Titans struggle out of the gate, it could happen a lot sooner than a lot of people think.
Yep. Thank you for your call, Josh. I think I would be more educated to give you an answer on this after at least one preseason game.
Mm-hmm.
But let's see. Week 14 is November-ish, maybe December. Never. So this season, I would be shocked. I would be shocked if Malik Willis started a game for the Titans this year. Even if the Titans weren't good, I would still be shocked by it because what they don't want to do is put him out there before he's ready. And I don't think Malik Willis looks anywhere near ready. And so what you don't want to do is if the guy's not ready and he needs to learn more and more and more or isn't comfortable doing something, then putting him out there and then getting him killed and then just absolutely shattering him, which is what the Texans did with David Carr. And that's probably the most extreme example of this. But I think, the Titans broke Mariota. I think the terrible, terrible team that they had in 2015 and the DeMarco Murray injuries in 2017 and Matt LaFleur and how crap of an offense he ran here in 2018 and the injuries and I think it broke Mariota. Now, I don't think Marcus is going to go to Atlanta and set it on fire, but I think Marcus could have been a good quarterback here, and then he got broken. And I don't think the Titans are going to be willing to do that with Willis. Then again, maybe Willis is far ahead of what everybody thinks. I felt like I watched most of practice. I think I saw Logan Woodside get like 3 reps today. So maybe they are preparing for Malik to be the backup, and then if Tannehill rolls his ankle, Malik's in. But to answer the question of the caller, I don't think that that's in the plans.
He doesn't need to be in the plans.
Well, if the team sucks, everyone's going to want it.
Yeah, but also...
I mean, this caller's already preparing for them to suck and wanting it in there.
I mean, I think a lot of fans are kind of preparing themselves for the Titans to suck.
I think Malik's fine. I mean, from what I've seen, there's not a lot to see, but I think he's fine. He threw a nice pass today. He threw some
bad balls today. Yeah.
Jerry is up next on the special teams. I find this interesting. Go ahead, Jerry.
Yes, my main question is, have they addressed the elephant in the room, which is the special teams, which could set up the offense and the defense or actually make field goals?
So I'll answer this question for you. No, and I appreciate your call. They had the same kicker out there, though to his credit, he was 7 of 8 today, and I think he hit one from 51. I'd have to go back and look at it. I was kind of distracting Jim Wyatt today. We were talking while Randy Bullock was kicking, but Jim Wyatt is a multitasker, so he was able to keep up with that. I was not. Now, when training camp starts, it's going to be different because I'll be running down to make sure the kicks are good or bad or whatever.
Yeah, thank you for that.
But, it's mini camp. Punter's the same. Kicker's the same. Most of the special teams players are the same, and the terrible special teams coach is the same. So to answer the caller's question, no, they have not addressed special teams, which is an issue. But I don't know how good these Dicker or whatever the guy's name was. No. I was talking about the Texas kicker.
I have no idea. Like Dicker the kicker?
Yeah. So they could have drafted him, but I don't know if he's any good or not. I have no idea.
He's good in college. He's fine in college.
But I guess my point is they really haven't done anything to address the kicker position. Though last week, Corey Curtis, what was his name?
Shudak. Shortest legs in America.
He ain't the shortest legs. He's shortest everything. But
I mean, and it's coming from
he's
someone
like
who
a mouse.
also is not very tall.
I mean, he looked like a mouse out there kicking field goals, and he was drilling them. And
Drilling 'em.
Corey Curtis said to me and somebody with the Titans, Corey Curtis was like, "Here's my prediction. I think he's going to make the team." On the next kick, he freaking blew it and came up with like what I thought was a loser's cramp. You know, like, oh, I missed the kick. Now let me hobble around. It wasn't me
I
that
think
sucked
he's
that kick.
legitimately injured.
But he's actually hurt because he's still not kicking.
Yeah.
So, good job, Corey
T's and
Curtis
P's
there.
to shoot at.
But it's the same. It'll be the same. So, Joe Rexrode. This is crazy. We have many a nickname for Joe. Bad Take Joe.
Vandy Joe.
But Vandy Joe has apparently got the Vandy fans mad at him. Now, Jared Stillman, who grew up a Vandy fan, but is hated universally by all Vanderbilt fans, is apparently on the good side of the Vanderbilt fans. So I want to get into this because I think I've figured it out. We'll get to that next. Caroline, tell us about the Caesar Sportsbook app.
It is time for the Caesar Sportsbook Report. Now, first things first, when you place your first bet with Caesar Sportsbook, it's risk-free up to $1,500. So Caesar Sportsbook has got you covered. Just download the app and use the promo code Radio15. That's Radio15, one word, and then place your first bet. And if you win, then congratulations. You just made a little bit more money. But if not, don't worry. Don't sweat it. You'll get that wager back as a free bet. Now, if you need something to place your first bet on the Caesar Sportsbook, there's an odds boost going on for all of you baseball fans out there at plus 700 odds. Really good odds there. No run in the first innings of Marlins at Phillies, Orioles at Blue Jays, and Athletics at Red Sox all tonight. It's a lot of games to not score a single run in the first inning, but I mean, at plus 700 odds, it might be worth just sprinkling a little bit of money on it, and it's risk-free. Must be 21 and physically present in Tennessee. New users only. Bet amount of qualifying wager return only if wager is settled as a loss. Paid as a single bet credit. Must be used within 14 days. See Caesars.com/promos for full terms. Gambling problem? Call or text the Tennessee Red Line at 1-800-889-9789. Caesar Sportsbook. Download it, people.
The MTSU Blue Raiders live here. And when you're in the borough, tune us in on 97.5.
In the end zone, caught, touchdown!
We are Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 The Game.
ElectronicExpress.com. We make it happen.
Time is running out on the hottest finance offer of the year at Genesis Diamonds. Now through June 18th, you can get 5 years, zero-interest financing on practically anything and everything. A $10,000 handcrafted Tacori ring comes to just $167 a month. Surprise them with something memorable. Put nothing down and pay absolutely nothing in interest for 5 whole years. Wedding bands for just $40 a month. Stud earrings just $30 a month. Don't miss this amazing offer. But hurry, it ends June 18th at 5 p.m. Genesis Diamonds, Green Hills and Cool Springs. On approved credit.
Hey, Nashville, it's Chase McKay, Program Director of ESPN 102.5 The Game, and there's a new way that you can hear Nashville's best sports talk. It's on 106.3 FM. From downtown Nashville to Spring Hill on I-65 and to Murfreesboro on I-24, you now have 2 choices to hear our great sports talk programming. And, of course, the Nashville Predators. Check out 106.3 now and save it as a preset.
Prescription products require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if a prescription is appropriate. Restrictions apply. See website for full details and important safety information. Subscription required. Refund available for 60 days after purchase.
Hey guys, did you know there's a generic form of Viagra that works just the same but is 90% cheaper? And you can get it online? Just go to 4hims.com/joy. You'll get a free medical consultation, discreet shipping if prescribed, a 100% online process, and trusted generic alternatives to the biggest brands at 90% off. That's right, get generic for Viagra, the same active ingredient as brand name Viagra, but 90% cheaper. It's the same medication you get from your doctor, but with zero copay, no expensive appointments, and no awkward face-to-face conversations. Results are guaranteed or your money back. To start your free online visit, you need to go to this exclusive address, 4hims.com/joy. That's 4hims.com/joy for your free online visit. FORHIMS.com/JOY.
From the Hillside Medical Game Studios, WPRT-FM Pegram, WPUC HD2 Laverne, Nashville's exclusive home for the Nashville Predators.
ESPN
102.5 and 106.3.
Terang, it's a high fly ball.
The leading receiver.
Awesome game 7.
Checker flag in the air.
The Game.
A Cromwell media station.
Where you have a voice.
We're one play away from an injury. He knows this. He's a study of the game.
And we have strong opinions.
He's been awful. I don't think they were trying, and that's why I feel the way I feel.
This is Stillman and Company with Jared Stillman and Caroline Fenton. Presented by TriStar Moving on Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And on the Game Nashville app.
Stillman & Company is delivered by TriStar Moving, ESPN 102.5. The Game streaming live on Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook Live. Thanks to the law offices of Amanda Gentry. Live from the Hillside Medical Game Studios. So I kind of thought we were done with college baseball. After Vanderbilt got eliminated, Tennessee got eliminated. I mean, I hate to break it to you, but I think people will watch in passing college baseball when it's on if there's nothing else to do. But for the most part, they probably won't. I figured that as far as the city of Nashville, Tennessee was concerned, we were done with college baseball.
No, we are not.
I will say this. I watched a little bit of the Auburn game last night. They
Pretty
played,
wild.
Well, they have
Oregon State.
They have a first baseman, a big old fat boy.
Sonny DeShara.
He kind of reminded me of me in high school.
Oh, that's really sweet.
I
But
mean-
did you play in the College World Series?
No, but I played in the Division II state, whatever it was.
Woohoo! Go USN.
Like I said, high school.
Gave me big Vogelbach energy.
But, I mean, this big old boy, he pulled his hamstring and stayed in the game because it's like, oh, you probably ain't running fast.
You're
anyway,
fine.
So whatever.
Yeah.
And then he hit a home run. Anywho, so Joe Rexrode today, he wrote a column at The Athletic, which, I mean, it did feel kind of excuse-making-ish for Tennessee, but not over-the-top excuse-making-ish. Gentry Estes wrote a column with the Tennessean that was, I didn't feel really at all excuse-making, but apparently the Vanderbilt fans have been going freaking bananas on this. Now, I said yesterday on the show, and I still believe this, that until Tennessee wins a national championship in the SEC, that as far as baseball is concerned, they're still a little brother to Vanderbilt. And Vanderbilt fans only have one rival. Some schools have multiple rivals, and they take it across, and some schools just hate one school. I went to a school that hates one school, Kentucky. We play in the ACC. We don't have a big rivalry with Clemson or Florida State or Virginia or Duke or, I mean, yeah, we want to beat them, but, you know, whatever. Kentucky, we hate them. Vanderbilt hates Tennessee. Everybody else, whatever. And so I said yesterday that until Tennessee wins a national championship, they will not arrive at the same level as Vanderbilt. And the Vanderbilt fans who hate me are loving me today. But apparently, I was listening to Joe this morning, and I was talking to Gentry at Titans practice, apparently the Vanderbilt fans have just been hammering them. This is what Joe said this morning during the Rex rant.
People are absolutely triggered. And it's really interesting to me. It's really been an exhausting couple of days. I guess you could say I did it to myself here. But the exhausting part is people like not fully reading, like, you know, not totally understanding or reading. Again, if people don't totally understand, you have to look at yourself and say, did I write that clearly? So I'm always looking at that. Like, did I not write something clearly enough? You know, did I not make it clear what I'm trying to say? But there's just so many comments that to me perfectly illustrate like why people are so misguided on this. But what I get, basically, this is Vanderbilt fans. And again, let's review a lot of the points here, okay? You should be talking trash to Tennessee. You should have a parade at their expense. I mean, this team talked a lot of trash and got people angry and lost, and you should enjoy it.
So I don't see what the big problem is, but apparently Gentry told me that he has been getting so many emails from Vanderbilt fans and showed me an email that was sent to him. And, you know, on all these columns, it's like, reach Gentry Estes at gentryestes.com or
right,
whatever.
Yeah.
And he showed me an email today that was from, like, a Vanderbilt fan. And it was like, Rocky Top will never win with the way they act. And the email came from, like, Vandy Bobby, It's like the same whatever.
Yeah.
And so the Vanderbilt fans are essentially dancing on the Tennessee baseball grave of they will never, they were classless, karma caught up to them, all these things. Are they right for that? Are they wrong for that? How do we feel about the Vanderbilt fans inundating Joe and Gentry and anybody else who has a sliver of apology in their heart for Tennessee? How do we feel about that? And are they wrong? Was it the karma that caught up to Tennessee? Was it the cockiness? Was it the attitude? I think those are all fair questions.
Well, I think Vanderbilt fans have every right to rub it in Tennessee fans' faces. Like, look, you've acted like this all season long. You've acted like you already won the championship, and now here you are getting beat in your own super regional. Ha, 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 ha. Tennessee, suck it. I think that Vanderbilt fans have every right to do that. I think that any team or any fan of any team, whenever their rival gets beat, I think they have every right to do
Kentucky lost to St. Peter's, and I was like, see, Calipari can't coach.
Yeah, like,
he gets all these recruiters. He gets all these recruits, and John Calipari can't coach. And I've really kind of felt that way every time they lose in the tournament. I feel that way.
I think every SEC fan feels that way whenever Alabama gets beaten, no matter by who it is. Like, with LSU fans.
Do they say Saban can't coach, though?
No.
I mean, I think everybody, like Calipari,
but it's the same feeling of in your face. All you talk about is everything that you win and you got beat. Like, I think that everyone kind of feels that way whenever their rival gets beaten. Now, are Vanderbilt fans in the right to reach out to Gentry and Joe about their writing? No.
Oh, whoa. Why no?
Not about writing, but about the articles, about you don't cover Vanderbilt baseball enough. The way that
I don't think that's what Joe's saying that he's getting.
What is Joe getting?
I think that they're getting the whole oh, you made these excuses for Tennessee, and it was the karma and the way they acted, and a classless team like that will never win. No, that is what. See, this is what I think.
That
Vanderbilt
is too
fans
far.
think.
I've seen so many times on Twitter. If you disrespect the baseball gods will get back to you.
People believe that crap.
People believe that.
But I will say this.
No, it's not why Tennessee lost. Tennessee lost because they didn't have good defense and they couldn't move their bats. Not because of the baseball gods.
I mean, some would say that. Look, the home run that tied the game was a total luck thing.
Yeah.
Guy had one home run. He was late on a 94-mile-an-hour fastball, and it went 321 feet. Like, I hit balls further than that. Like,
do you?
Oh, in high school? Yeah. I hit a ball one time, and I didn't know this, but this was maybe my junior year. I hit a ball at Davidson Academy, and everybody had told me, this is when I hit my first home run, and everybody was like, it just comes naturally, like, you can't try to force it, you can't whatever. We were getting killed. And I was like, I'm going to try to hit the ball out of the park. And I hit it, and I was like, oh, my God, I think I got it. And so all these people that had said, like, oh, no, it'll just come naturally, no. Every home run I hit, the three of them in high school, I literally tried to hit every time. But I digress. I mean, that was total luck. So maybe it is the baseball gods. But this is what I'll say about that. I believe that Vanderbilt fans are very insecure about Tennessee. That they probably know that Tony Vitello is not going away. That Tennessee is probably have a competitive team in the SEC. Just like Ole Miss has a competitive team. Just like Arkansas has a competitive team. Just like Georgia has traditionally had a competitive team. Just like Florida has had a competitive team. Just like LSU has had a competitive team. The way we look at football, A&M has a competitive team. The way we look at football in the SEC is that you've got Alabama, Auburn, Georgia, Florida, LSU, A&M, and I think I'm leaving somebody good out.
Florida?
No, I said them. And then every other year or so, you'll have Ole Miss might be good, or South Carolina might be good, or a couple of these teams
Tennessee might be good.
The SEC is the same way in baseball, which is, for the most part, Vanderbilt's good, Florida's good, South Carolina was good last decade when they won back-to-back titles.
Arkansas
is
Mississippi
good.
State.
Ole Miss is good. And then, you'll have your years where these other teams are good too. And I think Vanderbilt fans look at Tennessee and they are laughing, but I think deep down inside there's a little insecure element here. That is Tennessee baseball something that they're going to have to deal with for forever? Now, I don't know the answer to that. Because this could be a one-hit wonder deal, and 5 years from now, we're like, man, Tony Vitello for 2 years had a great team, and ever since they lost that core of players, they never built it back up. I don't think that's what's going to happen, but that could be what is happening. I just think that Vanderbilt fans are so gleefully excited that Tennessee didn't win because deep down inside in their hearts, they thought they were going to. And they were fearing what they were going to have to listen to from Tennessee fans who didn't care about baseball. And for all those years, it said, ha, 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 little brother, all you have is baseball. And now Tennessee's like, baseball! And then they lost. And it's like, we hate you. We hate your team. We hate your bat flips. We hate your trash talking. We hate your center field. We hate it. We hate it. We hate you.
I don't think Vanderbilt's alone in that. I think a lot of fan bases feel that way.
I think Vanderbilt has the only fan base that would actually care enough to comment on articles of like, yeah.
I don't know.
I really don't think. I'll say this. To me, and you know me, if there's an opportunity to sit here, if Tennessee baseball is doing something that I thought was really bad, don't you think that I would have just
you'd
been
be all over it.
Just bombarding them with it?
You'd be all over it.
I've moved on. I mean, I thought that the team,
they're out.
I thought they were immature, and I didn't know if that would catch up to them or not. I was incredibly surprised with how they responded to the temper tantrum that Drew Gilbert threw on Friday night and how they won on Saturday. And when they lost, I thought it was just chalk it up to this is a really hard tournament to win. End of story. I do think Tony Vitello's got to calm that coaching staff down. I mean, if you're going to be wild and crazy, you got to get, normal people on your bench or else it's going to be a disaster. And I do think that you're going to have kids that try to emulate the kids that were on the team last year that won't be as good, that'll act that way. And people don't like it when people talk the talk and don't walk the walk. So that's going to be something that they'll probably have to.
For the large part, they did walk the walk.
Yeah, but.
Until they didn't.
I'm talking about the guys next year.
Oh, yeah.
So the guys that are replacing, Beck and Gilbert and Lipsius and those guys walk the walk. Because you can act like Drew Gilbert, but if you don't play like Drew Gilbert, then no one's going to want to listen to it. So, I find that to be kind of interesting, but deep down inside, I'm not like looking at Joe's article and sitting there and saying like, Joe, you're so right, or Joe, you're so wrong, or Joe, you're like whatever. But I think Vanderbilt fans are just they are so happy that Tennessee didn't win that they're just celebrating, and this is their euphoria of the, in your face.
They have every right to do that.
And that's what I think is going on. And I will say this. I do, and here's where I'm going to stick up for the Vanderbilt fans. I was talking to Gentry about this today.
Mm-hmm.
And Gentry was talking about how hard it is to win in that tournament. He talked about a Louisville team that he covered when he was at the Courier-Journal that I obviously know a lot about that, had MLB starters on it and lost a run-of-the-mill like Cal State Fullerton team. And it was like, yeah, this is a hard tournament to win and everything else and whatever. And I read their columns leading up to this. Joe and Gentry both, and I love them, but they were basically expecting Tennessee to win the title. And remember, I said yesterday, like everybody in town that was sitting there expecting Tennessee to win, and I kept saying it before the Notre Dame series, this is a hard tournament to win. I do think the Vanderbilt fans are kind of like, in your face, Joe. Remember, Joe was talking about Tennessee or the field. And I think they're looking at
Joe
it like...
took the field.
And but he was at least talking about... I thought it was a ridiculous thing to even discuss. The idea of Tennessee or the field. In this tournament? Like, now, if this were, like, the college football playoff with 4 teams, maybe. But this tournament, one bad call can ruin an entire... it's just wild. But I digress. I think they're taking this as the moment to be like, oh, you guys thought that Tennessee was going to walk right to the championship, and they didn't. And I understand why the Vanderbilt fans feel that way. So with that, we'll get to your phones because I'm sure they exist. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. 615-737-1025. FanDuel Sportsbook is my official sportsbook app. That's right. Go yard all June long with $5 Dinger Tuesdays on FanDuel Sportsbook. This season, all customers will get $5 for every home run hit by both teams when you place a $25 to hit a home run wager on a Tuesday MLB game. And the best part about Dinger Tuesdays is even if your bet loses, FanDuel will pay you $5 for every home run. The Braves have won 12 in a row, and they're going to hit some home runs today against Washington, so put your money on that one. So what are you waiting for? Pick your home run hitter and turn big swings into big wins. And there's no better place to bet America's pastime than on America's #1 sportsbook. Head over to FanDuel Or download the FanDuel Sportsbook app and sign up using the promo code JGM. That's promo code JGM. 21 and older and in Tennessee. Let me tell the fine folks. 21 and older and present Tennessee. Bonus issue is non-withdrawable site credit that expires in 7 days. Max bonus $25 and restrictions apply. See full terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call the Tennessee Red Line 1-800-889-9789.
Join Chase McCabe for Chasing Checkers every Sunday morning at 8 for all the news in the world of motorsports.
Joey Logano gets the very first victory in the next-gen car
while hearing from the big names.
Two-time champion Kyle Busch.
Being able to bring NASCAR, the Cup Series, back to Nashville is cool.
It's Chasing Checkers, presented by Apple Collision Centers and the Nashville Superspeedway
on ESPN
102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Whether it's the news, the traffic, the weather, or your COVID-19 vaccinations, it's important to stay up to date. Sponsored by Pfizer and BioNTech.
312 Pizza Company is Nashville's authentic Chicago pizzeria, and they're now hiring. Work for a family-owned business and be a part of their incredible team. 312 Pizza Company is hiring for all positions, including host, waitstaff, bartenders, cooks, and more. 312 Pizza Company offers health insurance and paid time off to full-time employees. Contact Kimberly at 615-730-7888 or email at contact@312pizzaco.com. 312 is an equal opportunity employer.
Hi guys, it's Andrew with Hillside Medical Clinic. Is erectile dysfunction damaging your relationship? Are you sick of the pill and all the side effects? Well, welcome to the future. We have a major medical breakthrough. Hillside Medical Clinic uses the most advanced form of wave therapy. Backed by 60 clinical studies, our technology uses pressure waves to repair and open up blood vessels. We've helped countless men get rid of their ED. But what is the true end result? Their relationship, even their lives, improve drastically. If you're ready to regain your love life, call us right now, and not only will the assessment and ultrasound be free, we'll also give you a gift that produces immediate results in the bedroom. It almost never fails. This is worth $550, and it's free to callers right now. 615-576-5000. That's 615-576-5000. Put a stop to your erectile dysfunction and experience what I call the happiness ripple effect. Call Hillside Medical Clinic now, 615-576-5000.
Hey, Nashville, it's Chase McCabe, Program Director of ESPN 102.5 The Game, and there's a new way that you can hear Nashville's best sports talk. It's on 106.3 FM. From downtown Nashville to Spring Hill on I-65 and to Murfreesboro on I-24, you now have two choices to hear our great sports talk programming. And, of course, the Nashville Predators. Check out 106.3 now and save it as a preset.
Never miss a moment of the show. What is this? Check it out. Subscribe to the Stillman and Company podcast on iTunes, Spotify, and wherever you get your podcasts. You're listening to Stillman and Company.
Presented by TriStar Moving.
On ESPN 102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And on the Game Nashville app.
This idea that, one, that like Tony Vitello's way is, is like evil almost, like, and like it can't work. This proves it can't work. They lost because of this. It's just, to me, like you're too obsessed with what they do and you're not clearly seeing what they've become. They're a really good program, really good team. They're going to continue to be. And I think the biggest thing people are missing is there's authenticity here that you're trying to turn into fakeness. Like I said, I mean, I'm waiting for this huge financial windfall from writing this column. You can't possibly write this column unless like it's just like to get money from Tennessee fans. I'm going to set up a GoFundMe.
There you go. The Vanderbilt fans are mad at Joe, and that exactly explains where it is. Do you have a thought, or do you want to go to the phones?
To the phones.
Phones are driven by WilsonCountyHonda.com. Jordan has been waiting patiently. What's up, Jordan?
What's up, guys?
Go.
Yep. Vandy fans, stay on notice. The Vols aren't going anywhere. I think I'd actually say that the Vols baseball team will be more talented next year than it was this year. It won't win as many games. That's never going to happen again. But there will be more talent on next year's team than this year.
Okay, so let me stop you right there. I do not know who's out. I do not know who's in, and I do not care. But let me tell you this.
Most of their top players are out.
Most of their top players are gone. They ain't going to be that good next year. We're talking about an all-time college baseball team, and that you're just going to bring guys in right away that are going to fill those spots of Luke Lipsius was in college for 43 years.
6 years, but yes.
I mean, he was in college as long as Tom Brady has played in the NFL. So, you're not just going to replace that with a freshman who's this, that, or the other. I'll say this. Vanderbilt had their best, their first great team in 2007. They had gotten to the Super Regionals in 2004, and they had played well in a regional in 2006, but they had their great team in 2007. David Price was the number 1 starter, all-star. Mike Minor was the number 2 starter, Major League Baseball, all-star. Casey Weathers was the closer, first-round pick. Pedro Alvarez was the number 2 pick in the next draft. He played third base. That team was good. The next year, Price leaves, Flaherty, the shortstop, leaves, and a couple other guys leave. De La Osa, the right fielder, hit 30 bombs left. Vandy had a solid team. They still had Pedro Alvarez. They still had Mike Minor. They still had a lot of those. They got smoked in a regional against, at Arizona. Or maybe it was Arizona State. They got smoked in a regional at Arizona State. Then they got beaten in a regional at Louisville. Now Mike Minor's gone. Then they got to a super regional. The next year was Sonny Gray. But they didn't get back until 2011. That's probably what's going to happen to Tennessee. Is they're going to have a competitive team in the future. They'll probably make the NCAA tournament. They're probably not going to host a regional. They'll probably have to go on the road. They might get knocked out of it. It'll probably take a couple of years. Now, they have good pitching, and they have young pitching and whatever. Now, the pitching coach is, reckless. But without knowing the specifics of it and the recruiting and everything else, Tennessee baseball is going to regress. The bigger
they
question
have good recruits coming in. They have a transfer shortstop, I know for certain, that's coming in.
Oh, yeah. Didn't Darren Ravel take a lot of crap because he said that they spent a lot of money on him?
Yes.
So they probably
insinuated something that was not proven.
But I think the point is that, Arkansas had their great team last year that didn't lose a series and swept Mississippi State and Vandy, and they are in the World Series. Ole Miss had a terrible season by their standards, and they're in the College World Series. So it just kind of, it screws with you up and down. I have no feeling when people are like, Tennessee will never win, like the Vandy fan that thinks that. I have no feeling on that. And for the Tennessee fan like that caller that's like, they will be back, I have no feeling on that either.
I'm a Tennessee fan when they say that Tennessee will be back.
What do we have in the text line?
One texter texts in and says, those 2 Vandy fans are making a lot of noise.
Yeah, that's really funny, except for the fact that, for both Joe to say it on the radio, that, and I have been one to make fun of the lack of interest in Vandy, and I will say this, Vanderbilt, and I have taken the brunt of it, Vanderbilt has a very small yet passionate fan base. But for both Joe to use his one segment where he can rant about whatever to talk about this, and for Gentry Estes to come up to me at the Titans practice today and say, the Vanderbilt fans are all over me, makes me think that literally every single Vanderbilt fan is emailing them.
I have experienced it as well.
When you called Tim Corbin a crybaby last month.
Yes, and we could trash Vanderbilt football all day long. Crickets. I said that Tim Corbin displayed poor leadership by not speaking to the media after they got swept, which is true. And all of a sudden, I am public enemy number 1 on West End. So, I fully believe it, that the Vanderbilt baseball fan base is passionate, and it is loud, and it will take no disrespect whatsoever.
It's because that's their thing.
Yeah.
They know they suck at football. They know they suck at basketball. They know they suck at women's basketball. Unlike Joe, they don't actually believe that they're on the rise. But baseball's their thing. So don't talk bad about baseball. What else we got?
Your text in and says, I'm willing to bet that Tennessee will sweep Vanderbilt every series for the next 5 years.
Okay, whatever that person is willing to bet, I'm willing to bet $1 million on that.
Maybe it's true.
No, they're not going to sweep them for 5 straight years.
Maybe it's true.
You don't
Maybe it's not.
Texter.
I'm not putting my money on it.
Texter, I am. I will put my money that Vanderbilt will not get swept for 5 years straight against Tennessee.
Okay.
That's just not, you don't, and I'm talking to the texter, not you. You don't think, texter, that they're getting another David Price? You don't think that they're getting another Mike Minor? You don't think they're getting another Sonny Gray? You don't think they're getting another Grayson Garvin?
No, because Tennessee fans think they're going to Tennessee.
You don't think they're getting another Tyler Beatty. You don't think they're getting another Carson Fulmer. You don't think they're getting another Kyle Wright. You don't think they're getting another Kamar Rocker. You don't think they're getting another Jack Leiter. They get them every year. You think they're done getting them? And the kid that goes to Tennessee is not the same kid who goes to Vanderbilt. Those are two totally different, just from my vibe, two totally different backgrounded kids.
I know.
I would be more worried if I was Tennessee about recruiting against the rest of the SEC and recruiting against like Louisville and the schools in the area that are good.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not talking like good like Belmont good. I'm talking like good. I would worry about that before I would worry about Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt goes to the Northeast, and they go up there, and they get the best kids out of the Northeast.
The West Coast.
They'll go to California.
Arizona.
The Vanderbilt, you are not recruiting against you probably are in some instances, but for the most part, you're really not recruiting against Vanderbilt. And they will get another Sonny Gray, and they will get another David Price, and they will get another Mike Minor, and they will get another one of those guys, Beatty, Fulmer, Ziamek, Kyle Wright. They will get another one. 615-737-1025. One more.
Another texter texts in and says, I'm a Vandy fan, but I'm legitimately afraid of Tennessee.
Yeah, I mean, I would be too. Like, but
it's okay to admit that.
I'm not so afraid of Tennessee to think that Tennessee's going to win 50 games next year. I mean, I think Tennessee. I mean,
50 games is a lot.
I think Tennessee is like every one of the SEC teams that is a legitimate team. They are in the mix, just like everybody else in the SEC is in the mix.
Tennessee was better than every other team in the SEC this past year.
Right, but I'm talking about now. Like going forward, Tennessee doesn't get elevated to super status because, I mean, six of the 8 teams are either in the SEC or going to be in the SEC?
4 now, and then
Texas and Oklahoma. I mean, this is a hard conference. Tennessee fans don't understand this because they started watching this year. So it's like, oh, yeah, we dominated all these teams. And it's like, right, but this is football, and you're you, and this is the rest of the SEC. Trevor Maddich will join us next. Trevor apparently heard Derrick Henry's comments today about his foot. He had the same foot injury as Derrick Henry and says he has a Derrick Henry take that he wants to share with us, so we'll get into that. Plus, Traylon Burks and Jeffrey Simmons once again unavailable, whatever that means. We'll get Trevor's thoughts on that. Stillman and Company, it's ESPN 102.5 The Game.
This is Mikhail Kralland, and this is Nashville.
And the rebound shoveled in by Mikhail Kralland, and the Predators have tied it up on the power play.
This is the flagship of the Nashville Predators Radio Network, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
At the law office of Amanda J. Gentry, we are committed to defending your rights. Being arrested doesn't have to be the worst day of your life. Being served with custody paperwork doesn't have to be the worst day of your life. It may feel that way, but if you have Amanda J. Gentry representing you, you can feel confident that you're going to have the best quality representation in all of Middle Tennessee. Amanda J. Gentry goes wherever justice demands. 615-604-6263. AmandaJGentry.com.
Don't miss the Electronic Express Father's Day sale. Save big on Father's Day gifts from brands like Charbroil, Yeti, Samsung, GE, Sony, and more. Electronic Express has huge savings in every department. Outdoor living, appliances, 4K TVs, smart home, furniture, and more. Save up to 40% on all appliances with up to 36 months free financing. Shop in-store or online at electronicexpress.com and get free express delivery on most items. Electronic Express. We make Father's Day happen.
Interest rates may be rising elsewhere, but not at Genesis Diamond. Now through June 18th, you can get 0 interest for 5 whole years. That's right. Buy now, pay nothing down, and spread your payments over 5 years without a dime in interest. Only Genesis can make an offer like this on rings, earrings, pendants, bands, designer jewelry, even GIA certified diamonds. There's just one catch. This is a limited time offer and it ends June 18th. 5 years, 0 interest financing with nothing down at Genesis Diamonds, Green Hills and Cool Springs on approved credit.
It's time to tee it up at Edwin Watts Golf Shops for the hottest gifts for dads and grads. Featuring the Titleist Vokey SM9 wedges. The SM9 grooves are cut to maximize the interaction of ball and face for lower flight and higher spin. And from Bushnell, the Tour V5 and Tour V5 shift rangefinders inform you precisely how far you are from the pin. Whether you're a dad or grad, get a free custom fitting today. Edwin Watts Golf Shops, home of the 90-day satisfaction guarantee, and shop us online at worldwidegolfshops.com.
Many jobs, sports, recreational activities, getting older, or having arthritis in your knees increases your chances of having knee problems. Whether you're an active senior or a high school athlete with knee problems or injuries, the world-class doctors at Houston Clinic Orthopedics can treat your knee pain or injuries. Houston Clinic Orthopedics is conveniently located where you work and live. Visit their website at tn.houston.com and book your appointment online. When experience matters, trust Houston Clinic Orthopedics.
Cutting the price of your wireless bill feels good, really good. Actually, it feels great. You should try it out. So cut your bill by switching to Straight Talk Wireless, now offering our $45 Silver Unlimited plan with 5 gigabytes of hotspot and nationwide 5G on America's largest, most dependable networks. The $45 Silver Unlimited plan from Straight Talk. Straight Talk Wireless. No contract, no compromise.
A month equals 30 days. See terms and conditions at straighttalk.com. 5G capable device required. Actual availability, coverage, and speed may vary.
The sounds.
Play ball! Over first into right field, a base hit. White is around third into score.
Your Nashville Sounds open their series down I-40 against the Memphis Redbirds.
Swing and a miss, strike 3. Sounds win.
Coverage begins at 6:50 on your home for the Sounds.
ESPN
94.9 and the Game Nashville app.
Hey Nashville, I'm Gary Smith, head coach of Nashville SC. You're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
Just unavailable.
Contract deal going on?
Unavailable. That's how we're going to go when guys don't practice and it's not an injury report.
Same deal with Traylon?
Unavailable.
There you go. If you had any question about what was up with Traylon Burks, he's unavailable. If you were worried about what's up with Jeff Simmons, he's unavailable. That was today at Titans mandatory minicamp, but everybody technically was there. Simmons and Burks on the bikes. Simmons probably a contract that probably more the asthma thing. Trevor Maddich joins us now, ESPN college football analyst presented by Houston Clinic Orthopedics. When experience matters. Trev, I want to start with this with you. What do you make? Let's go by them individually. What do you think of Jeffrey Simmons? Again, Aaron Donald reset the market on defensive tackles, but the Titans do own his rights for the next 2 years and the third with the franchise tag, and he's his own agent. What do we make of the Simmons situation where he was, quote-unquote, unavailable?
Well, I think that Jeffrey Simmons has a lot less leverage than he might think he has. And being his own agent is the wrong move to make. He saves the fee for the agent, but one of the reasons you have an agent is so that you don't have to sit there and listen to the team tell you why you're not as good or productive or valuable as you think you are. Let the agent hear that rather than you hearing all that negativity, because then emotions get involved. And we saw some apparent emotion getting involved with the whole A.J. Brown thing, and we saw how that turned out. The thing about Jeffrey Simmons is that the Titans don't just have leverage because they can control him for the next 3 years. They have leverage because of what could happen this year. In other words, if Jeffrey Simmons decides that he's going to try to force an extension now 2 years before they really have to do it, normally you don't sign an extension with 2 years to go on the contract. Normally you do that with 1 year to go. It's very rare to have 2 years. Happens, not very common. But the thing is, he is scheduled to make, Jeffrey Simmons, about $2.2 million this year, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
If he decides he wants to make a big stink out of it because he wants to get an extension now and ends up not signing that extension because he's not offered enough, then look at what he loses. If, hypothetically now, we're talking about leverage, if the Titans were to come out and say, look, we'll offer you a long-term deal at $22 million, and let's say that Simmons says, no, that's not enough, I want 26. Well, then this year, he will end up making $2 million, which is about $20 million less than that hypothetical offer. And next year, when he does sign his extension under this scenario, he would have to make an additional $20 million guaranteed over the course of that contract in order to make up for what he lost this year. So I don't know that the Titans would necessarily sign him to an extension this year because of not wanting to set that kind of a precedent. But if they are, he's got to factor into the total amount the fact that if he wants too much this year, then he's going to have to get a whole lot more just to make up for what he lost this year. So he has less leverage than he thinks he might have, and he has a lot more to lose than he thinks he might have should he decide to dig in his heels and ask for more than the Titans are willing to give.
Do you think the Titans made a mistake? And I know that they traded A.J. Brown, but they didn't have to trade A.J. Brown. They could have made A.J. play at the $4 million this year. They could have franchise tagged him for the next year, and they honestly could have franchise tagged him again. But they didn't, and I don't know if they privately threatened to use their leverage, but they really didn't publicly threaten to use their leverage on A.J., and maybe that's why Simmons feels the way he feels. Is there a precedent inside the locker room when one guy cries and pouts and gets his way, and how that'll affect the other guys? You played in the league, Trev. What do you think?
Yeah, well, no, it does matter. And cry and pout is different from stand up for what you think you're worth. And the bias in the locker room is in favor of a player who stands up for what he thinks he's worth. Now, if the team sees him as crying and pouting, it's a different issue. But if the team sees A.J. Brown as having felt legitimately like he was disrespected by the Titans by the offer that the Titans made him, and so he dug in his heels, the team won't be mad at A.J. and they won't be mad at Jeffrey if he does the same thing. So really, the politics of it matter to a degree because you want to be seen as a team that rewards your current players, that extends your current players. But at the same time, you can't go too far with that because then you end up getting a foul of the salary cap. But I think that the team itself, the players in the locker room, when somebody holds out, when somebody makes a stink about contract and stuff like that, players are thinking, yeah, that's where I may be in a year or two, and I'm not going to criticize the player for that.
So I'm not so Trevor Matches with us presented by Houston Clinic Orthopedics, when experience matters. I'm not so concerned on the Simmons front that that he would think that AJ criticize AJ. I would think of it as AJ cried and pouted on social media and every other which way, and ultimately he got his wish. He requested a trade. He got traded to Philadelphia. He got the contract at Philadelphia, and AJ is trolling everybody on Twitter now. So why would I not cry and pout to get exactly what I want? That is the way I kind of looked at it. What do you think?
Well, that's part of it. That's part of it. But see, in order for that to work, the team would have to think that the player isn't going to play under the contract.
Sure.
That he's going to hold out and eat the fine and make it more valuable for the team just to trade him. And that's kind of where, AJ is a free agent. Wasn't a free agent, but AJ doing that is kind of what led, I think, the team to think that, okay, we're not going to sign this guy anyhow. So what do? If the team believes that AJ was so mad and so disgruntled that once they were done with their control over him with the last year of the contract and with a potential franchise tag, he was going to leave anyway because he was just going to leave. He just didn't want to be there anymore because they soured the boat so much. If the team believed that, then it was right to go ahead and trade him with maximum value by doing it this way. You can look at it from this year's standpoint. Yeah, they could have had him for $4 million, and he would have to play under that, or he would have to just hold out under that. But I think the team was thinking, if we do that and alienate him to the point that we can't sign him later, we're worse off in the short term, but better off in the long term if we can get a maximum value for him now. So I can see the team's side of that.
Treylon Burks, quote-unquote, unavailable again on the bike with Jeffrey Simmons today. We know it's not a contract issue there. When does it become a problem, Trev?
Well, it's already a problem. It's a big problem because he needs to run routes. He needs to physically get out there and do the things that the Titans need him to physically do. He needs to get every rep he can with the quarterback, Ryan Tannehill. And right now he's getting none of that. And the team, I think the players know what the problem really is. But since the team won't announce what the problem really is, it makes everybody speculate what the problem really is. I mean, at the combine, he weighed 225 pounds. But there is rumors leaking out right now that currently he weighs about 240. Now, I don't know if that's true, but if he gained 15 pounds from 225 to 240 between the combine and now, that goes to show a massive lack of football character and a massive disregard for the team and the teammates that need him to perform at the best level he can. And because we don't know from the team exactly what the problem is it asthma? Is it weight? Is it a combination of both? You know, what's the issue? Because we don't know that, we are left to speculate on every rumor and try to decipher whether or not that rumor is accurate or not. I don't think that's fair to the player. I don't think it's good for the team. And truthfully, you know, unless there's some HIPAA law that they would run afoul of, they have got to say what's right. Because right now it is absolutely a problem. Now, having said that, I really think this will be more of a tight end-centric passing attack next year, with or without Burks. You know, obviously he'd be a lot better with them.
Trevor Match is with us, as always, presented by Houston Clinic Orthopedics, when experience matters. So Trev heard what Derrick Henry said today about being the same old Derrick Henry. Unlike me, and unlike Caroline, and unlike probably everybody else who covers this team, Trev has actually had this injury and played in the NFL with it. So we'll get Trev's thoughts, plus his thoughts on Derrick's contract. And Nate Davis decided not to attend the voluntary portion. I asked a pretty obvious question about the offensive line, and I felt personally like Nate Davis gave kind of a bullcrap answer. I want Trevor's reaction because he played offensive line. We'll do that next. Stillman & Company, it's ESPN 102.5 The Game.
The college football season never stops. ESPN college football analyst Trevor Matich joins Stillman & Company every Tuesday at 4:30.
They've got to do what Nick Saban in Alabama has done so successfully over the last 10 years.
Presented by Houston Clinic on Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
From Fox 17 News, this is a Code Red weather alert.
I'm Fox 17 Code Red meteorologist Greg Bobus. The heat continues. Near record-breaking heat the next several days. We'll go with 98 degrees on Wednesday and on Thursday. Unlimited sunshine, maybe a shower late in the day for Wednesday.
This weather report brought to you by Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical.
Call the Happy Face Truck today.
The free AutoZone Fix Finder service can help troubleshoot the likely cause of your pesky check engine light for free and get you back on the road. Restrictions apply. Get in the zone. AutoZone.
Hey, Willie Donick here. Are you feeling the sting of higher interest rates and higher costs? Those credit cards and other loans are costing more and more every month, and inflation is making everything else more expensive. Your home can save you right now. Your home value is up, and there's a ton of cash in it that you can access with Loan Pronto. Loan Pronto specializes in zero-cost cash-out home refis. You can get tens of thousands in as little as 2 weeks. Pay off those 23% rate credit cards and other loans. Consolidate everything into one super low payment. People who do this usually cut $800 or more from their monthly budget. If your home mortgage rate goes up a point or so, it's offset by your credit card rate going to zero. So call Loan Pronto now and unlock that equity and wipe out the bad debt. Do it now. You can even skip your next 2 house payments. Call 615-499-5780 or go to loanpronto.com. That's 615-499-5780. Equal housing lender, NMLS 166-1781, subject to lender approval.
Join 102.9 The Buzz and ESPN 102.5 The Game in partnership with the Nashville Predators for 615 Day at the Ford Ice Center in Antioch. There will be tons of food, fun, and activities for the whole family. All proceeds raised on 615 Day go directly to benefit the Boys and Girls Club of Mental Literacy to help kids like me, Jaden. Thank you so much for your support of the Boys and Girls Clubs. We will see you on 615 Day at the Ford Ice Center in Antioch.
Post Malone, the 12 Carat Tour. The long-awaited event comes to Nashville with special guest Roddy Ricch. Bridgestone Arena, October 16th. Pre-sale for City Card members now through Thursday at 10 p.m. before the general public on sale Friday at 10 a.m. Get tickets at livenation.com. say congratulations. New album 12 Karat Toothache available everywhere.
Hey Nashville, it's Chase McKay, Program Director of ESPN 102.5 The Game, and there's a new way that you can hear Nashville's best sports talk. It's on 106.3 FM. From downtown Nashville to Spring Hill on I-65 and to Murfreesboro on I-24, you now have two choices to hear our great sports talk programming. And, of course, the Nashville Predators. Check out 106.3 now and save it as a preset.
Robbie Stanley.
They get a lead in that game and just totally close the door.
Joe Rexrode.
If he plays next year, it's disastrous.
Robbie and Rexrode. Mornings from 6 to 10 on Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And on the Game Nashville app. You're listening to Stillman and Company.
Sounds like this has been a game-changing day for all of us.
Presented by TriStar Moving.
on ESPN
102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And on the Game Nashville app.
What would you say the status of the foot is at this point?
How long since it's been since I played? Foot good. Foot is good.
I was going to say, do you feel like you're pre-injury Derrick Henry in terms of the foot and so forth?
Yeah, I feel good. I feel real good.
Derrick Henry feels real good. Derrick Henry, how long has it been since I played? I'm fine. Which I think a lot of Titan fans heard and felt good about. Like, yes, he says he's fine. He feels fine. Trevor Maddich is with us, presented by Houston Clinic Orthopedics, when experience matters. Speaking of that experience, Trev has had this experience in the NFL with that foot. So, Trev, when Derrick Henry says, I'm fine after that subpar Bengals game we saw, what do you think?
I think he must be talking about everything but his foot. Because when you break a foot like that, there's not a lot you can do, with your core and below. You can do some core exercises, but not all the ones that you need to. You've got to protect that foot. And I think when he said that he's fine, he was referring to everything else, because the foot itself is yes or no. It's check the box, pass or fail. That it's a Jones fracture, the fifth metatarsal of the foot, and the fifth metatarsal is the bone that starts kind of at the foot side of your pinky toe, and then it goes back towards your heel. It's a small bone, it's kind of fragile, and it doesn't have very good vascular nourishment. And so when that thing breaks, and I've had that happen, what they normally do is they put a screw in there, or plates, or both. I have a screw in mine that's countersunk into the bone that's about 2-3 inches long and almost as big around as a pencil, and it's still there. And I think that there are both screws and plates on Derrick Henry's. That's what I believe. And once that heals up, hey, it's healed. And if it's not healed all the way, it's going to snap. I will tell you this, though, that making sure that it's healed all the way is critical. Because, I heard you and Caroline talking about whether or not this was more of a sudden Jones fracture or whether it was a wear and tear injury. And when I broke mine, it was both. We had at the time, when I was playing for the Patriots, a strength coach that was a speed guy but not really a strength guy. Mm-hmm. So he had me out on the stadium doing plyometrics on the stadium steps. And I'll tell you, I was incredibly powerful in my core because of that. But I did so much that when that thing snapped in training camp, the doctor looked at the x-ray and said there was an indication on that x-ray that it had snapped, but also indication that it snapped because it had weakened and it was trying to heal itself before the snap. So I think that means that the Titans will have to be very careful with the pitch count for Henry, both in practice and in games. And I think that's one of the reasons that they drafted Hassan Haskins, the big beast of a running back out of Michigan, so that he could take some of that load off of Derrick Henry, not because Derrick Henry's, chest and pecs and core and thighs and all that stuff can't handle it. We know they can't. But so that little bone in the side of his foot that is vascularly undernourished doesn't have enough pressure on it that it can start the process of a wear and tear problem that makes it easier to snap.
Trevor Maddich is with us. Trev, I do wonder, at the age that Derrick Henry's at, he's got a very team-friendly contract. It's essentially a team option this year for $12.5 million, which they're obviously going to pay him. And then it's $15 million next year. And I asked Derrick about wanting a new contract, and Derrick, who's never, ever, ever talked about his contract before, basically said that he's open to a new contract with the Titans. And there's been some reporting on that front as well. I do wonder this. At 28 years old, how much of it can we believe Derrick Henry is a special player, special human, special whatever, and he'll be able to do what most running backs aren't? And on the other hand, how much are we supposed to be cautious that he's a 28-year-old running back coming off of an injury?
I think it needs to be both. Running backs tend to fall off the map pretty quickly. So does everybody, really. Tom Brady is one of the exceptions. I mean, typically a quarterback, if he can make it to 40, he's going to fall off very fast after that. Brady has not. We'll see what Aaron Rodgers does. Running back has been more predictable, especially the kind of a running back that takes as many hits as Derrick Henry. But the thing about Henry is that I don't think that, based on the compensation coming up, that he should feel like he's being cheated by the team right now. Because depending on who you ask, according to SpotTrack.com, certainly he's the 5th highest compensated running back in the NFL. Well, that's not like he's woefully underpaid. You can talk about the guaranteed money, but if he has a good, healthy season this year, he'll get paid that money next year. You always want more guaranteed money, and you always want the extension. But I don't know that Derrick Henry has a right to feel like Jeffrey Simmons has a right to feel. Jeffrey Simmons this year is going to get paid $2.2 million in salary. The highest paid defensive lineman in the league, Aaron Donald, just got $31 million a year in a long-term contract. And a lot of people think that Jeffrey Simmons is second only to Aaron Donald. And Simmons has a right to feel like he has outperformed his rookie contract and that the team owes it to him for what he's done for them so far to give him that extension and to give it to him now. Derrick Henry, I don't think, has a reason, at least not a rightful reason, in my opinion, to feel the same way that Simmons might feel. At the same time, if the team is going to give him that extension, Jared, I think that they really should do it now so that they can bring the guaranteed money into this year and next, and it makes it easier for them to cut him loose down the road if they need to. Otherwise, they put it off a year, and all of a sudden that guaranteed money goes out a couple of years, and the dead money is extended out another year.
Trevor Matich is our guest, presented by Houston Clinic Orthopedics, when experience matters. Nate Davis skipped the voluntary offseason program. He said he was out training in Los Angeles. He is a free agent to be, but I asked Nate Davis about being a right guard. Trevor, you played all over the offensive line. I asked Nate Davis about being a right guard with a new right tackle. Here was the conversation I had with Nate Davis. Trevor, I want you to react to this on the other side. How do you compare the working with your guy in Los Angeles to working here with somebody new at right tackle?
I mean, it's not really comparable in that way. Obviously, because I don't have that body next to me, I can't really talk to him that type of way. But we still have a relationship outside of football where we can still text each other, talk to each other anytime we need to, run things off each other. So that's the biggest thing. If
it is going to be Dylan, how would you say that relationship is? And did you feel like without the OTAs, your relationship with him would be fine on the field?
Yeah, most definitely, because we already had many reps last year too. I feel like some people might not realize that. We're out here practicing every single day. It's not just David from last year. Dylan was coming in and filling in too. So like I said, it really comes back to relationship off the field, just being able to talk and just not even with football, just life in general.
Trevor, I think that's bull crap. What do you think?
Well, the relationship off the field is important, and the relationship on the field has a lot to do with your success in a lot of ways. I mean, last year, according to Pro Football Focus, Nate Davis had a pretty good year run blocking and not such a good year in pass protection. But some of that was attributed to the fact that in Quessenberry he didn't have a steady right tackle, enough experience in the right tackle position next to him. And so the combination blocks in pass protection and picking up stunts and things like that, Davis wasn't able to perform as well as he could have either. And so if it is that they want Radunz to be that guy long term, and I know they do, if he's able to win that job and both guys, Davis and Radunz at right guard and right tackle, are able to perform at a high level next to each other, then the two of them together will be better than either one of them as an individual. That's one of the reasons why you see offensive lines, and the best offensive lines in the league, have 4 or 5 guys that have played together for many years. It's not that they couldn't put a more talented guy into one of those spots. It's that the chemistry and the choreography between each one of them trumps talent after a certain point. And so, I think in fairness to Nate Davis, I want to see how he performs when he's got a true solid right tackle next to him, which he did not have last year, and he won't again this year. He'll have to be the grizzled veteran if it is Radens that ends up starting in that position, right tackle.
I guess my bigger issue was the whole, I didn't need to be here with the reps because we could text each other on the phone. That I don't understand as far as offensive line is concerned.
Yeah, and I'll tell you why that makes me mad. He's coming into the last year of his contract. The fact that he wanted to work out somewhere else, the fact that he's talking about being Derrick Henry, you didn't say I'm Derrick Henry, but what he's saying is that he ought to be able to work out away from the team like Derrick Henry does. Again, he didn't say that, but that's kind of what he was doing. That's the absolute incorrect thing for him to do. He should have been here at all times. Now, by all accounts, Davis showed up lean and ready to go physically, but that's only part of it. He needed that chemistry, and that chemistry can only be built when you're with somebody, not when you're apart. And so that part of it, you are absolutely right, Jared. I think that's totally wrong. And if I'm a coach, I'm wondering about this guy's commitment to the team, given that he has to show well this year in order to get re-signed at the kind of money that he wants. And I would wonder why in the world he was away from the team and then made that kind of an excuse.
I also just think that it's like, I don't want to say like treating me like I'm stupid, but we got reps last year. Like, Dylan Radens wasn't even active for most of the games. He was inactive for the playoff game. You tell me you got reps with him last year? And you're going to tell me, we don't need the reps because I don't need the reps with him because, we can text each other. Like, Bruce Matthews and Mike Munchak don't need reps together, but I think Nate Davis and Dylan Radens, if that's going to be the right guard and right tackle, probably do need reps together.
Well, if they are the right guard and right tackle going forward, then 3 years from now, they can probably skip a few. But the way reps work in NFL practices is that the starters get most of the reps. The backups get very few reps with the regular offense. The backups will get most of their reps on scout team for the defense. So for him to say that is just ridiculous. He's got to assume that the people that he's talking to have never been to an NFL practice.
There you go. Trevor Maddich, brought to you by Houston Clinic Orthopedics, when experience matters. Great stuff this week, Trev. We'll talk soon.
Thanks, Jared.
Yep, Trevor Maddich joining us on the program. So Ryan Tannehill, I asked a very basic and direct question, and his answer kind of opened my eyes a little bit. I was almost kind of stunned by it. So we'll get to what Ryan Tannehill had to say coming up next, because I will say this. I think it's going to be the biggest concern I have with him. So we'll get to that coming up next here on the program. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. Let's give away a pair of tickets to Train. Be caller 5 right now at 615-737-1025, and you would win a pair of tickets to see Train with Jewel and Blues Traveler at Ascend Amphitheater on Tuesday, June 21st. 615-737-1025. Good luck on that. Stillman and Company. It's ESPN 1025 The Game.
You watch the game.
And he's going. Nobody's going to catch him. Derrick Henry, touchdown.
We talk the game.
I don't think it was a bad play, but he took out their goalie.
We are the game. Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
1025 and 1063 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
ElectronicExpress.com. We make it happen.
IndyCar is back for more. The Big Machine Music City Grand Prix returns to Nashville August 5th through 7th. For 3 days, the streets of downtown Nashville will come alive with the sounds of music and racing. 3-day tickets are on sale now for as low as $129. The Big Machine Music City Grand Prix is a weekend full of action-packed excitement. Don't miss out on this year's biggest party. Visit MusicCityGP.com to buy tickets. That's MusicCityGP.com.
We're in the most active season of the year right now, but if you've got joint pain, you may be on the sidelines. Hips, knees, back pain, shoulder pain. It sucks the fun out of living, but I've got the solution. QC Kinetics, helping people here in our listening area get the fun back. It's regenerative medicine. It's the hottest thing going. It's basically taking growth factors with the healing properties from your own body, highly concentrated, then putting them into your aching joints. This is exciting. It's in the office. It's non-surgical. No drugs, no surgery, no downtime. So stop putting it off. Call QC Kinetics and learn more about regenerative medicine and get a free in-office consultation now. Call the local medical professionals at QC Kinetics. 615-249-4024. That's 615-249-4024 for QC Kinetics. Repair and restore damaged tissue in your joints and get the long-lasting relief from pain.
You know it's going to happen, and when your car needs service or repair, remember Mitchell's Mr. Transmission on Gallatin Road, just north of Briley Parkway. Now here's Jim Mitchell.
At Mitchell's Mr. Transmission, we also offer free towing with any major repairs. If your vehicle has a breakdown and you should need any type towing, towing is available through Dad's Towing Service. Dad's is a professional towing company in Nashville that provides all types towing and recovery, 24 hours a day.
You know it's going to happen, and when your car needs service or repair, remember Mitchell's Mr. Transmission on Gallatin Road, just north of Briley Parkway.
Hey, Nashville, it's Chase McKay, Program Director of ESPN 102.5 The Game, and there's a new way that you can hear Nashville's best sports talk. It's on 106.3 FM. From downtown Nashville to Spring Hill on I-65 and to Murfreesboro on I-24, you now have two choices to hear our great sports talk programming. And, of course, the Nashville Predators. Check out 106.3 now and save it as a preset.
Listen to Stillman and Company with me, Caroline Fenton, all season long on ESPN 102.5 The Game for your chance to win Nashville Sounds tickets courtesy of 312 Pizza Company in Germantown.
5X480, Dayton B100 V-Belt, one of the many parts Grainger carries. It's also the item that helped Rob carry the day. The job was on hold, deadline fast approaching, but a quick search on Grainger.com and Rob found his part. And with same-day pickup at his local branch, he and his crew got the job done, safely and on time. Get supplies and solutions for every industry with real-time product availability. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
From the Hillside Medical Game Studios, WPRT FM Pegram, WPUC HD2 Laverne, broadcasting on Alexa.
I appreciate that.
And other smart speakers.
ESPN
102.5 and 106.3.
Terang, it's a high fly ball.
The leading receiver.
Awesome game 7.
Checkered flag in the air. The Game.
A Cromwell media station.
Where you have a voice.
We're one play away from an injury.
He knows this. He's a study of the game.
And we have strong opinions.
He's been awful. I don't think they were trying, and that's why I feel the way I feel.
This is Stillman and Company with Jared Stillman and Caroline Fenton. Presented by TriStar Moving on Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And on the Game Nashville app.
Stillman and Company is delivered by TriStar Moving, ESPN 102.5. The game should be live on Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook Live. Thanks to the offices of Amanda Gentry, live from the Hillside Medical Game Studios. Titans mandatory minicamp wraps up tomorrow, so it'll be their final off-season practice, and then they're gone for 5 weeks, and then it's training camp. Then it is, how did Malik Willis look today? Then it is, did Traylon Burks practice today? Then it is, how did they look in the preseason? Then it is the joint practices. Then it is the Giants. So we're getting kind of close, even though it feels like it's forever and ever and ever away. But I will say this. I was sitting there today watching Tannehill throw the ball, and I was talking with Gentry Estes. And Tannehill so far in the OTAs and mandatory minicamp, Tannehill looks fine. Hard to tell. Hasn't thrown any interceptions or anything crazy or whatever, but he looks fine. It'll be different when they're rushing the quarterback, and we'll see if Dylan Radence at right tackle or whoever ends up playing that position, we'll see if they'll be able to hold up. But we know that right now the story of the Titans season for all of us is about Tannehill. And somebody asked me today, they said, what's the difference between the Vols being the number 1 seed and getting knocked out in the second round and the Titans being the number 1 seed and getting knocked out in the second round? And I said, why'd the Vols lose? Well, there's a lot of different answers that could come up with why the Vols lost. And some of it is about the people that won't be there next year. Oh, this guy didn't hit. Well, he's gone anyways. Why'd the Titans lose?
Tannehill.
We know. He knows. We know. So I know there's a lot of pressure on Ryan Tannehill, but I wonder what he thinks about the pressure on him. I said to Gentry Estes today, I said, what's crazy about Tannehill is how bad he sucked last year. And Gentry looked at me and was like, he didn't suck. They were 12-5, and they were the number 1 seed. And I was like, yes. And when everybody got hurt, he was awful. He was awful in the Texan game where he threw 4 interceptions. He was awful in the Steeler game where he absolutely combusted after the receivers fumbled the football. He fumbled the snap. He threw an interception. He threw short of the sticks on 4th down. And, of course, he was downright terrible in the playoffs. But the reality is Tannehill, outside of the Seattle game and the second Texan game, he was awful for most of the year. And that's the biggest question going into the season. Why? But he will be facing pressure. And I saw Tannehill in that playoff game, and he threw that first interception, and you could see it written all over his face. He was succumbing to the pressure. And now after that performance, one in which he's detailed how much therapy he had to get after it in order to get out of that, this is probably his last chance. And they drafted a guy that many people would consider his future replacement. So I asked Tannehill, how much pressure is on you? Here's what Tannehill said.
That wide receiver group, do you?
The regular season success that you've had with the team and the playoff disappointments going into this year, how much pressure do you feel on yourself?
Just go out and lead the team and win games. I mean, that's ultimately what my job is to go play quarterback, which includes a lot of different things, but, leading the team and finding a way to win each and every Sunday.
That seemed like a very deflected answer. That seemed like a very, I don't want to answer that, so I'm going to answer what I want to answer, which is just have to go out and lead the team every week. Duh. But how much pressure is he feeling? Now, I think he's feeling a lot. And I think pressure does one of two things to guys. I think some people, like Tom Brady, and I know that's an extreme example, I think Tom Brady thrives on pressure. When you look at the statistics of what he does in the second half of playoff games, there is no equal. Peyton Manning, who I didn't think thrived under pressure, thought Peyton was good in games, but for the most part, Peyton kind of had a reputation not winning in the playoffs. Does not have the same stats in the second half of these games. In fact, if you look at Manning's stats, Manning, Drew Brees, they have better stats than Tom Brady at passing stats as NFL quarterbacks. Who would ball in their hands with 2 minutes to go in a playoff game?
Tom Brady over everyone.
Brady. Some guys just thrive on the pressure. I'll tell you right now, that Bengals kicker, he thrives under the pressure. Mm-hmm. So I look at the pressure this year for Tannehill, and I think he doesn't even want to talk about how much pressure he's feeling. And that's why he deflected away from it. Do you think this is something that he thinks about, is how much pressure he's under? Do you think it is something that he's worried about? Do you think it is something that we should be worried about? How do we feel about the pressure on Tannehill, and how do we feel about him? I don't want to say actively not answering the question, but it very much felt like he was actively not answering the question.
I don't understand how he can't feel the weight of the world on his shoulders, because that's the way their season ended last year, was because of him.
He blew it.
Because he blew it. But so if I am Tannehill, I'm feeling all the pressure. But I don't know how well Tannehill responds to pressure.
I don't think he responds well at all to pressure.
So that's why I worry that he is feeling that pressure. Because, I mean, like you said, people respond differently to that feeling. It's, a lot of people are fueled by it. I don't think he's fueled by it. I think it gives him the yips. I think you saw that in the very first play of the game against Cincinnati, that it was all the pressure. It was a home playoff game.
And then it added to the pressure like it was quicksand after he threw the first interception.
After he threw that interception. Yeah, I mean, he
missed a wide open AJ for a touchdown. He threw the second interception, which was a terrible interception. He threw the third interception when it was obvious.
Game over.
Vrabel didn't want him to throw the ball. They didn't want to throw the ball. The Bengals knew the Titans didn't want to throw the ball. C.J. Uzomah, the tight end for the Bengals at the time, did a podcast before the Super Bowl, and he was like, we were sitting there on the sideline saying they're afraid to give us the ball back. Mm-hmm. And they're right.
Yeah.
They were right. C.J. Uzomah was right. And I think Tannehill, I'm going to give Tannehill credit for this on the way he answered the question. And this is when I tell you that I think Tannehill, now it's come to the point where he got in so much trouble over what I asked him about the Malik Willis thing and his response, which, again, I thought was a fair question. And honestly, I didn't think his answer was that big of a deal. I knew it was going to be a big deal, but I personally, his mentorship answer, I didn't think was that big of a problem. I think when Tannehill saw that question, I think he kind of said, all right, I think he checked it down to the running back metaphorically when it came to how to answer that question, because he's probably thinking, if I say I don't feel any pressure, I'm going to go out there and let it rip this season. then everybody will kill him because Ryan Tannehill, after
not
that
taking it
Bengals performance,
seriously.
he doesn't. He feels no pressure. How dare he? And if Ryan Tannehill says, "Oh my God, I feel a mountain of stress on my back every single day,"
Then it's
he'll
Ryan
say he's
Tannehill can't let
soft.
it go.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I will say this for Tannehill. Like, I think he did answer the question well. But I think the reality of the pressure, I think that's a big deal. And I have to believe that Tannehill feels it. I have to believe.
How do you not?
Do you think he feels more this year than previous seasons in his career?
I think he has to.
I mean,
think he absolutely has to.
The way last season ended.
Everything, too. If the Malik Willis thing was not an example of, dude, everything you say and do is now under the microscope, I think it, last year he threw a bunch of interceptions in training camp. And this goes back to my whole, he sucked last year. He threw a bunch of interceptions in training camp. And every day the questions were, so is Tannehill throwing interceptions a bad thing, or is the Titans defense getting interceptions a good thing? And Vrabel kind of, each one's different, and
each one has its own story.
And then Tannehill, we're working through some things, it's no. Then they get in the games, and Tannehill, he threw interceptions, but he also was throwing passes that weren't intercepted that should have been intercepted. And it was like, oh my God, what's going on here? Then when everything fell apart, he was awful, and he never really got that back. Then when they had everybody healthy, he was terrible in the Bengals game. Of course he's feeling the pressure. His career is on the line this season. If Tannehill doesn't perform well this year, then he will not be a starting quarterback in the NFL next season unless it's some crap team that just doesn't have a quarterback, and kind of what the Seahawks are right now. He can go quarterback that team, but he's not going to win anything, and somebody else is going to draft somebody to get in there to ultimately take his job. And it's going to be like Kurt Warner quarterbacking the New York Giants. It's just not going to matter. And so his career is on the line. I think that's a lot of pressure. And I think last year he fell to the pressure. And that's what scares me to death. My number one fear of the Titans. I am nervous that they won't have, that Treylon Burks and Robert Woods will not be good enough to replace A.J. Brown. I am worried that the offensive line, in which they have spent no money on improving, and they lost a Pro Bowler, and they lost a guy who played right tackle, that the offensive line might be a mess. I am worried that Derrick Henry is going to be a 28-year-old running back coming off of an injury. I am worried that the chubby kicker is not going to be able to make a ball over 50 yards. I am worried that no one's going to be able to return punts because nobody has been able to return punts for the last 7 years. All those things bother me. Nothing bothers me more than the idea of the quarterback succumbing to the pressure and not being able to handle it. 615-737-1025. So what do we think about that answer? 615-737-1025. And then Tannehill said something today that I just could not believe. I could not believe it because I thought he was doing so well. And then he said this. And I'll tell you what that is next. Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical. Those are my guys. They've been taking care of my home for years. And they can do the exact same for you. And here's the thing. I think you can all agree with me. You do not want your HVAC system to go out right now. And if you need a new HVAC system, your HVAC system is probably pumping out all of its juice right now because it's about 5,000 degrees outside. So there is no better time to upgrade your essential home systems than this month with my friends at Hiller. Until the end of June, Hiller is offering 0 interest for 60 months on select new HVAC systems, 0 interest for 12 months on new tankless water heaters, 0 interest for 12 months on new whole home generators. If you know you need a new system for your home, do it this month. These financing offers are available for a limited time only to help you stay comfortable and cool all summer long and handle the payments later. Visit happyhiller.com for all the details because, as always, happy you will be or the service is free. That's Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical. My guys, proud supporters of the Tennessee Volunteers, the Vanderbilt Commodores, and the Nashville Predators. Hiller, call the Happy Face Truck today.
Robbie and Rex Road here on ESPN.
Welcome into the DDC.
Stillman Company is delivered.
There's a new way to hear 102.5 The Game. Nashville's best sports talk on 106.3 FM. From downtown Nashville to Spring Hill on I-65 and to Murfreesboro on I-24. You now have two choices to hear our great sports programming.
Get the extra point, no problem.
And the Nashville Predators. Scores! Check out 106.3 now and save it as a preset.
Houston Clinic Orthopedics at Harding Place offers world-class orthopedic care. The doctors at their Harding Place location specialize in general orthopedics, foot and ankle, hip, pain management, hand, wrist, and elbow trauma, total joints, and orthopedic spine surgery. They offer same-day appointments, so get back to enjoying life sooner. Schedule your appointment online at tnhouston.com. Conveniently located at 394 Harding Place in Nashville. When experience matters, trust Houston Clinic Orthopedics.
Time is running out on the hottest finance offer of the year at Genesis Diamonds. Now through June 18th, you can get 5 years zero-interest financing on practically anything and everything. A $10,000 handcrafted Tacori ring comes to just $167 a month. Surprise them with something memorable. Put nothing down and pay absolutely nothing in interest for 5 whole years. Wedding bands for just $40 a month. Stud earrings just $30 a month. Don't miss this amazing offer. But hurry, it ends June 18th at 5 p.m. Genesis Diamonds, Green Hills and Cool Springs. On approved credit.
Smokeville Smoke Shop has been serving Hendersonville and Metro Nashville since 2015 and is committed to providing high quality, hands-on, and personable customer service. Stop in the Smokeville Smoke Shops in Hendersonville, Gallatin, Hermitage, and Goodlettsville to try any of their wide selection of locally sourced products and selection of top nationwide brands including vapes, hookah, hand-blown glass, detox systems, e-juices, kratom products, leaf wraps, a dab bar at the Hendersonville location, and much more. Visit Smokeville Smoke Shops today.
The coolest beer fest in town returns to Bridgestone Arena on Saturday, June 25th. Get out of the heat and enjoy unlimited craft beer tastings from over 80 breweries at the Preds Beer Fest. Each general admission ticket includes a souvenir tasting glass and a ticket to a Preds home game in October. General admission ticket starts at just $69. All proceeds benefit the Nashville Predators Foundation, which supports Middle Tennessee nonprofits. Visit NashvillePredators.com/beer to secure your tickets today.
Cutting the price of your wireless bill feels good, really good. Actually, it feels great. You should try it out. So cut your bill by switching to Straight Talk Wireless, now offering our $45 Silver Unlimited plan with 5 gigabytes of hotspot and nationwide 5G on America's largest, most dependable networks. The $45 Silver Unlimited plan from Straight Talk. Straight Talk Wireless. No contract, no compromise.
A month equals 30 days. See terms and conditions at straighttalk.com. 5G capable device required. Actual availability, coverage, and speed may vary.
It's on. It's happening. Remember, you can watch us on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, and Twitter.
Get out of the way. I'm watching the game.
Presented by the law offices of Amanda Gentry. You're listening to Stillman and Company.
Presented by TriStar Moving.
On ESPN 102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And on the Game Nashville app.
Do you find a point where you kind of like put a cap on it? Okay, that's the past. Now it's time to move forward, or do you?
Yeah, no doubt. I've like I said, it's a scar that I'll carry with me, but I'm looking forward to this year. You know, using it as fuel as I move forward. But something I'll always remember. Like I said, it's always there, but at the same time, I've dealt with it. It's in the past, and now I'm using it as fuel to move forward.
Ryan Tannehill is moving forward past the Bengals game, which I would say is pretty good. By the way, it's funny. You listen to some teams talk. I listened to an interview Stephen Jones, the Cowboys, did, and he was asked about the end of that Niners game, and Stephen Jones was like, we talk about it, think about it every second of every day. And then I asked Vrabel today about the Bengals game. Oh, yeah, I kind of moved on. You got to look forward in this league. I don't have a problem walking in that locker room and saying, hey, every one of you, remember the Bengals. Remember that game. Remember what happened. But there was one thing. Tannehill was doing such a good job. Tannehill did such a bad job after the season was over because he didn't take any account. He had no accountability for the loss in his post-game press conference. He didn't meet with the media after the season was over on locker cleanout day. Mm-hmm. He didn't do any podcasts. He didn't do anything. Now, again, to his credit, he did say he was in a dark place getting over the Bengals game, which it should have hurt. Like, that Bengals game should have hurt. Then he shows up for his first press conference and talks about how much the Bengals game hurt. And it's like, if you had done this in January, I think it would have allowed people to move past it. But he was at least kind of taking the blame for the Bengals game. Then today, Derrick Henry was asked about how Tannehill said he was in a dark place. Being the Derrick that he is, and I'm not going to play the clip for you, but basically said, oh, yeah, he and I talked about it, and trust me, we all feel this way, and, whatever, a good teammate. So then Joe asked Tannehill about his conversations with Derrick, and Tannehill said something that I literally popped my head up. I was like, I can't believe he just said this. Play the clip.
I guess specifically from your perspective on what Derrick told you. He basically was like, I also was struggling with it.
Yeah, we were kind of in a similar predicament. Obviously, we put so much into it. We care so much. We love the game. We love competing. We love our team, and love winning. So to end the way we did, like I said, and not be able to reach our potential, it hurt. And we're kind of in a similar spot, so we're able to connect in that way and communicate and really help each other a little bit.
We're in the similar spot. We're in the same predicament. Did Derrick throw 3 interceptions in that game?
See, I feel like his intentions behind what he said, I hope they were different than how it sounded.
Did he just give up? Did he just do everything that he did when he had his press conference a couple weeks ago that blew up over the Malik Willis thing that really wasn't that big of a deal, but everybody made a big deal? But what I felt like was taking pure blame for the Bengals game and for saying like, hey, this Bengals game really, really shook me. And by the way, it should have. That it should hurt. That he is now like, yeah, we just let that one get away from us. No. No, girlfriend. You get away.
Slow down, sis.
From all of us. In fact, listen, this was when I was driving to practice today. I couldn't believe that they were actually talking about this. So Solomon Wilcots and Charlie Weiss on SiriusXM. I'm listening to them talk. Charlie Weiss is making a point that the NFL, it's so razor thin in the AFC because all these teams are really, really good. And he compares it to college baseball and how, look at all these top teams that didn't win in college baseball. And it's hard, the same in the NFL. And Solomon Wilcots talks about the Titans, and listen how delicate with Tannehill's feelings Solomon Wilcots is.
People's hearts were broken in Nashville when that game was lost. They were expecting, the fans were expecting. I'm not saying the players. I don't even think the team overlooked the Bengals at all. I don't think that at all. I think the team's well coached. I think they played hard. I just think, man, there were some things that happened in that game that I just don't think you'll ever see again. You see a team quarterback get sacked 9 times and they still win. Your quarterback throws 3 interceptions, one at the beginning of the game, one at the end of the game. I don't think you see that very often. Sort of undermine some of the good things the Titans did on that day. But nonetheless, number 1 seed, first week off, and then first home game. You lose in front of the home crowd. That was very disheartening for that team.
Think about what Solomon said there, right? He's like, that place was rocking. That fan base was so hurt. And I don't think it's anything that they did wrong. They played hard. They were well coached. It's just some things that you don't, always see all the time. And then he's like
3 interceptions.
And it's like Solomon, just say it. Tannehill blew it. Just say it.
And he said it was disheartening.
It was disheartening.
Yes, it was. But to your point about what Tannehill said, I think it was more so the intention of, we were in the same place that we were both just so sad.
We loved the
team.
So mad. We played so hard. We tried so hard, and we didn't get it done, and we hurt so bad because we didn't get it done.
Yes, and they were probably in similar, in similar places emotionally that they were just absolutely crushed. What? Why are you looking at me like that?
No, they weren't in similar places.
That they were crushed?
I think, I was crushed. Derrick Henry was crushed. But I don't think Derrick was having nightmares about the game.
Well, his season did not go the way he wanted it to go.
So the one thing I would say about the similar predicament thing is that for Derrick's standards, Derrick did not play very well in that Bengals game. Whether it was Derrick's fault or not.
Throw the ball away.
No. We as non-biased, against one player or another, we are not holding Derrick responsible. No. The Titans still ran for 140 yards on the ground, even though Derrick only ran for half of those. But we are not holding Derrick responsible for the Bengals game. Everybody is holding Tannehill responsible for the Bengals game. Probably, I don't know, maybe because he lost them the damn game. But I could see Derrick taking it hard on himself that he didn't get the the third down late in the game, that he didn't get the 2-point conversion, those little things. That, remember, the last drive, they got the ball with about 2.5 minutes to go, and everybody and their grandma was praying not to throw the ball with Tannehill. And so it was like, okay, run with Derek. The problem is the Bengals knew that too. So they just stuffed the box, and I think Derek gained 2 yards, and then it's 3rd and 8, and Tannehill throws the ball that gets bad in the air and intercepted. And so I could see Derek taking it hard on himself that he didn't play better.
He's that kind of player that no matter what he does when they lose, he's going to take it personally.
But Derek is not. I mean, the way Tannehill was talking about, every time I close my eyes to see the game, Derek was not in that predicament. I cannot imagine that Derek was in that predicament. But again, my problem with the way Tannehill answered this question is that, dude, first of all, once you start playing games, except for the game against the Bengals next year on November 27th. So the week leading up to that, Tannehill will be asked a lot about the Bengals game. But other than that, once you start playing games, nobody talks about what happened in the Bengals game last year. But until then, the Bengals game is going to be what everybody talks about. And all I need Tannehill to do is just take the blame. Like, dude, you blew it. You blew it. And I thought he admitted to us that he blew, like Scott Norwood.
I think he knows that.
Knows that he blew the Super Bowl for the Buffalo Bills against the Dallas Cowboys. And if you watch that documentary about the Bills teams, the 4 Bills teams that went to the Super Bowl and lost, all those guys will say, like Frank Reich, who was holding the field goals, like, oh, no, the wind in the pregame, and we knew that it was kick this, and, oh, no, the Cowboys, Giants, they did whatever. They all made excuses for Scott Norwood. Scott Norwood knows that he lost the Super Bowl by missing that kick. And so, anywho, it's just like, Tannehill, dude, you got to take the blame, bro. It's got to be on you. And this idea of the cap, and TD saying, hey, you put a cap on this. And nobody else is putting a cap on this Bengals game. This Bengals game, and I asked Vrabel a legitimate question about how much of a motivating factor is the Bengals game. Because, like, tomorrow I'm going to be in the dunk tank at 615 day, so I'm not going to be out at practice. So I got to get any question I might have of a topic that we might have over the next 5 weeks, I got to get it in for Vrabel now. And so I was doing that today, and I think that the Bengals game is going to be a big part of the discussion going into next season. But Tannehill's got to take the blame on the Bengals game. This is not shared blame. This is not.
But I don't think what he said is absolving blame.
Well, but I think it's sharing blame. We're in the same spot. We're in a similar predicament.
Similar predicament.
No, you ain't.
We were both crushed.
Maybe.
I don't think that Tannehill is saying that, Derek and I equally share blame in that loss. I don't think he thinks that, and if he does, then he is so wrong.
We couldn't get it done. I
that's
think
he's
a lot
saying
like
we're in
that.
a similar predicament.
That's
but we
a
were
lot
both
like
crushed.
the post-game press conference that he had after it was over. We didn't think we'd be down here. I thought we were going to go down and score. It sounds a lot like the thing that originally pissed us off. So I'm just throwing that out there.
I think those are different instances.
One more segment of your wonderful calls and texts, 615-737-1025. Your reaction to Tannehill today. Again, Traylon Burks is not out there. Jeffrey Simmons not out there because they are quote-unquote unavailable. 615-737-1025. Stillman and Company. It's ESPN 102.5 The Game.
If you're on the road between downtown Nashville,
They're still in good shape to make the playoffs.
and I-840,
Players make it clear they don't want to be somewhere anymore.
there's a new way to hear all your favorite shows and sports programming on 102.5 The Game.
I go back to that play and I shake my head. What I was worried about is that they were still just going to keep the goal.
It's 106.3 FM.
Think about all the good Titans teams.
This is very much so a run-first offense.
Now you have 2 choices to hear Nashville's best sports talk. Check out 106.3 now and add it as a favorite.
This is Chef John from Kitchen Notes at the Omni Nashville. Invite you to come join us for breakfast and lunch. We are offering some exciting new menu items. For breakfast, we have a smoked prime rib hash. Comes with a sunny side up egg, hominy, caramelized onions. It's a great start to your day. We are featuring a sourdough pancake made with a sourdough bread starter. It's a fun spin on the classic buttermilk pancake. As always, Kitchen Notes is serving biscuits all day. Come join us and create a memorable experience here at the Omni Hotel. Food is all about memories for us. We'd like you to start a new memory here at Kitchen Notes in the Omni Hotel.
Breakfast at Kitchen Notes in the Omni Nashville Hotel. At Kubota, We want to help you deliver a job done right. That's why they want you to know that the new Kubota inventory is arriving daily. You have work to do. We have the reliable, durable, and versatile lineup to help you do it. Visit Columbia Kubota or Franklin Kubota today for all your equipment needs. 2 locations to serve you, Columbia Kubota or Franklin Kubota. Visit us online at columbiakubota.com or franklinkubota.com.
If you snore, it may be a sign of a more serious, possibly life-threatening condition. Most people think of snoring as a nuisance, but it's a much more serious medical condition than you think. Snoring has been associated with chest pain, sleep apnea, high blood pressure, chronic pain, obesity, headaches, and sore throat. Take a listen to what some of our patients are saying about the revolutionary Vivo system.
Right after I started using it, I noticed the results really, especially with the snoring. My sleep apnea episodes are a fraction of what they were before. This product's phenomenal. It changed my life.
I am 100% happy that I did this, and I'm thankful every day that I had it.
If you're curious about our sleep devices, call now for a sleep consultation. Don't let your spouse have to sleep in the guest room, and don't risk the severe health complications of snoring and sleep apnea.
Dr. Kelly Rice is certified to provide the Vivo system to open the airway for a better night's sleep. Call 615-373-4488 or go to BrentwoodSleepApnea.com to see which therapy can work best for you.
Individual results may vary. Always seek the advice of your health provider with any questions regarding a medical condition.
Hey folks, Joe Rexford here, inviting you to go yard all June long with $5 Dinger Tuesdays on FanDuel Sportsbook. This season, all customers will get $5 for every home run hit by both teams when you place a $25 to-hit a home run wager on Tuesday MLB games. Best part about Dinger Tuesdays is even if your bet loses, FanDuel will pay you $5 for every single home run. I continue to say, stick with the Yankees on this one for your $5 Dinger Tuesdays. Lots of great options. Of course, the Braves, another one as well. What are you waiting for? Pick your home run hitter and turn big swings into big wins. There's no better place to bet America's pastime than on America's #1 sportsbook. So just head over to your FanDuel account or download the FanDuel Sportsbook app and sign up using promo code Joe102. Again, that's promo code Joe102. You must be 21 or older and present in Tennessee. Bonus issued is now a drawable site credit that expires in 7 days. Maximum is $25. Restrictions apply. See full terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call the Tennessee Red Line, 800-889-9789.
Robbie and Rex Road here on ESPN.
Welcome into the DDC.
Stillman Company is delivered.
There's a new way to hear 102.5 The Game. Nashville's best sports talk on 106.3 FM. From downtown Nashville to Spring Hill on I-65 and to Murfreesboro on I-24. You now have 2 choices to hear our great sports programming.
Get the extra point, no problem.
And the Nashville Predators. Scores! Check out 106.3 now and save it as a preset.
What's happening in Nashville? This is Scott Van Pelt. You're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
When he came back, he said that loss to the Bengals, it put him in a dark place to the point where he had to do therapy and things like that. I'm not saying you had to do that, but what did you do to kind of like work through such a disappointing loss, being as though the opportunity you guys had?
Yeah, it definitely was tough. Actually seeing Ryan, I think like back in March, we both had a signing in Alabama. We was talking about it, and he was saying he was in a dark place, and I was like, I felt the same way. Just tough, and we all expected it to do more and play a lot better, and we just wasn't good enough. And they were the better team, but anytime like that, a loss always hurts when you feel like you got everything promised, everything in front of you, and you just fall short. So it was tough, but definitely fueled me in the off season. I sound like a broken record because we keep doing the same thing, but all you can do is let it fuel you and get ready for the next one.
If you wondered if Ryan Tannehill and Derrick Henry were close, yeah, I saw him in March. We were at a signing in Alabama.
Yeah, we ran into each other. We just got to chatting.
And I'm guessing what that is what these guys do now, like with Fanatics in them, is they'll sign a deal with those guys, and then for a day they have to go into essentially like a ballroom of a hotel and sign like 5,000 helmets, 5,000 jerseys, 5,000 pictures.
Probably so.
And then at the end of that
Just
day,
get it all over
it's
with.
like, here's your $150,000 check. Which again, I'd sign my name 1,000 times too if I got the kind of money, so I'm not criticizing. But that's how close Derrick Henry and Ryan Tannehill are. I digress. To your phones, as promised, 615-737-1025 phone line driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com.
Mr. texts in and says it is, hold on just a second.
Did it refresh on you?
Yes, it did. One texter texts in and says, Tannehill is full of it. You hear words come out of his mouth, but he says nothing. I don't care if I ever hear from him again. Just that he understands that he is at the plate with 2 strikes and a lot of unhappy home fans. It is put up with each week with no big mistakes, or he will sit in the pressure on him he brought on himself. It is time to man up.
Okay, so I think one of 2 things has to happen here. Either the fans are going to have to get over it and just know that Tannehill's a quarterback this year, and you're probably not going to win the Super Bowl, but you probably win some games, and it'll be an interesting season. That's one thing. I think the second thing is, I think Mike Vrabel has to go on the defense. Like, Vrabel has to decide how he's going to play this. And that is, because I agree with the texter, that there are unhappy home fans with Tannehill.
Oh, yeah.
I think Vrabel has to either tell the fans that they're wrong and really mean it and not bullcrap his way through it, or Vrabel has to give the indication that he thinks Tannehill's in trouble. Now, I wouldn't do that if I was him. So Vrabel knows what he's doing when he talks to people. John Robinson, I love him, but John Robinson is not as good at bullcrapping as Vrabel is. Vrabel
He's a great bullcrapper.
Great bullcrapper. I think he's really got, and I know he doesn't think it. I say this as if I know it's a fact. I believe that he doesn't think it. Like, if he were to get up there and to say to you, like, look, I feel like every bit as confident in Ryan Tannehill as I would Tom Brady, and I played with Tom Brady, so I can say that. Even though nobody would believe it, I do wonder if we're at a point where Vrabel needs to say that as a message to the fans of Tannehill's my guy. Not the, he's a good leader and he's got great toughness. No, like, you need to say, hey, I can go to war. Like, I don't give a rat's ass who it is. I don't care if it's Matt Ryan. I don't care if it's David Carr. I don't care if it's Derek Carr. I don't care if it's Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Aaron Rodgers. I do not care. I feel like I can go to war with Tannehill.
He's not going to say that.
But he needs to.
Why?
Because the fans are going to, the first time Tannehill screws up, they are going to go all in. And I think Vrabel needs to kind of tighten it up before it gets there. What else we got?
Mike texts in and says, you're making way too much out of this. The connection with Tannehill and Henry was that Henry felt like he didn't carry his weight in the Bengals game, either one.
Okay, so that I do think, I don't think, again, that it's like, Tannehill throwing 3 interceptions, closing his eyes and seeing, when he closes his eyes, he sees the Bengals defenders and is like, oh my God, Eli Apple, what am I going to do? Which, by the way, is so embarrassing to say. But then again, these teams, like the Patriots, the greatest team of all time with Brady and Belichick, and they lost Tannehill the playoff game. So, whatever. But, I do wonder how Derek feels personally about the playoff game. Like, if he looks at it as, I couldn't get going because of the foot. If it was, I couldn't get going because of the way the Bengals were playing. If it was, I couldn't get going because Tannehill threw interceptions, so everybody knew the ball was coming to me and they stacked the box. If it was, I couldn't get going because I stunk.
Yeah, I don't know if he looks at it like the excuses, like, oh, it was my foot or oh, it was Tannehill. I think that he's the kind of player whose brain is wired, like, no matter what you do, it just wasn't good enough, especially in a loss. Like, I should have done more. I should have gotten past the sticks. I should have done it. It should have been me.
Do you think Derek felt that way when he ran for 150 yards and they lost to the Jets?
I mean, it's hard to say that he should feel like that because he shouldn't. But, I mean, when you lose, your mind goes those places because he was probably thinking, yeah, I ran for 150. What if I ran for 175?
I think there's 2 different guys. I think there's the guy who says, man, we lost, but I played great. And the man who thinks, man, we lost, but I played great, but doesn't say it.
Yeah, probably
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I just think Derek
He's not
still
gonna
doesn't
say
say it. I think the thing that really is hard for me to stomach with Derek in the playoff game is that Derek, when he got the ball in the playoff game, he looked like he was laboring and like either the foot was slowing him down or he didn't trust it or whatever.
He looked like he was running through peanut butter.
And then Foreman got that ball and he went right up the middle and went right for 60 yards and right in. And it's like, well, damn, that's a $1 million running back. Like what's going on over here? What else?
Chris texts in and says, how long are you going to ride Tannehill so hard? When Tannehill came back a few weeks ago, he discussed how crushing that loss was and how bad it hurt. And as a Titans fan, that's all I needed to hear. He knows he screwed up, but it hurt bad just like it hurt the fans.
So I did think Tannehill needed to say that a couple weeks ago, and he did say it, and I thought he should have gotten credit for what he said, but he didn't because the Malik comments absolutely exploded. Now, what was the first part of that text again?
How long are you going to ride Tannehill so hard?
How long do you think I'm going to ride Tannehill so hard for?
Probably as long as he is the quarterback of the Tennessee Titans.
Until he wins the freaking Super Bowl. Like, until he pays what he owes. And it's different than when you were a backup making $7 million, 5 of which the Dolphins were paying, and you were here and you got your shot. You took the team to the AFC Championship game, and when you lost to the Chiefs, there were some people out there that said, Tannehill proved he couldn't do it. And I'm like, yes, Tannehill proved that when his defense stinks it up, he can't go into Kansas City and outshoot Patrick Mahomes. But last season, Ryan Tannehill sucked. And so, I rode Tannehill when I felt like he didn't do enough against the Ravens. And he threw for 160 yards and missed a wide-open Cam Batson at a critical juncture of that playoff game. So when I think Tannehill deserves the blame, Tannehill will get the blame. And when I don't think Tannehill deserves the blame, Tannehill will not get the blame. If there's anything you guys should understand about me, whatever preconceived biases you think I have, it's really just a reflection of you. It's really not about me. And I'll give you an example. I've said on this show before that John Hines in the past has done a good job. The turnaround in 2021, I thought John Hines did a good job. But when he starts stinking it up in the playoffs, or they start stinking it up on their way to the playoffs, or he does, he challenges a questionable at best goalie interference against Colorado, and Colorado scores and puts the game and series out of reach, well, we're going to give the coach the business when he does that. I've told you all, when David Poyle makes good moves, I have sat there and I have said, people, the Shea Weber PK Subban trade was not popular at the time. I thought it was a great move. I told you it was a great move. When he makes a bad move, even if he's the most popular guy in town and trades a first-round pick for Ryan Hartman, you're going to hear from me on that. There's no preconceived bias here. When Tannehill was playing great, I was on Tannehill's side. When Tannehill started stinking it up, I started riding Tannehill pretty hard. That's just how it is. That's sports. That's what I'm not going to do is like this Skip Bayless, LeBron's no good. I don't even like LeBron. He's won 4 titles. At some point you can't be. LeBron will never win a title. LeBron's won 4. LeBron still is not that good. That's not me. So when you ask oh, man, how long are you going to ride Tannehill for? I'm going to ride it until he pays what he owes. That's how this works. That's sports. What else we got?
Another texter texts in and says the key is the new passing game coordinator's impact.
No.
Says he needs to impact Ryan similar to how Art Smith did. Also, besides Woods, Hooper, and Burks, another receiving target needs to emerge big time.
Okay. Have we seen Tim Kelly do anything?
No.
In these mini camps?
No.
Well, there's no scheming.
Well, but you're not going to get to see that.
Exactly.
No, I'd feel better about this if they made him the coordinator, but he's not. They still have Say Nothing Downing as the coordinator. I got to say this. I'm not sure Todd Downing gets enough blame. And he got a lot of blame during the season. And then I thought he got some really unwarranted blame in the playoff game. Now, I thought he stunk in the playoff game too. But I thought the playoff game was all about Tannehill. But I'm not sure Todd Downing gets enough blame because when we talk about Tannehill's mistakes, I went to almost all the training camp practices last year, and Tannehill was making mistakes in training camp.
Yeah, how do we know that Downing wasn't asking him to make these throws?
Yeah. Was Arthur just making it so simple for Tannehill that it was almost like a math tutor?
Well, then why are you going to write off the potential impact that Tim Kelly could make on Tannehill?
Because Downing is still there. Because at the end of the day, here's the one question I have.
Okay.
One, that with the defense, I really didn't give Shane Bowen a bunch of credit. Now, I got off his ass, but I didn't look at Shane Bowen last year and say, wow, he really schemed up a good defense. Because when Bud Dupree wasn't in there, that wasn't a great defense. When Bud Dupree got back in there healthy, they were a freaking solid defense. But when push comes to shove and it's 29 Eagles shoot ZX Queen Y double Y Spider Banana break. Who's doing that?
Downing.
Okay. And it's different on offense than it is on defense. The play call on defense matters like 60%.
But I'm just not going to write off completely what Tim Kelly could do. I mean, we don't know what he is going to do. We don't know what his role is, and they're not going to tell you.
Guy was a coordinator of the Texans who didn't win jack.
Well, Vrabel was a defensive coordinator of the Texans who had a terrible defense.
And I'm not asking Vrabel to be defensive coordinator. There's a total difference. In fact, I was reading a book about how, and I forget who it was. It might have been Belichick. I can't remember. But it was a book about Belichick. And it was like all these studies about what makes a great coach, and that people sometimes think, oh, good coordinator equals good coach. But that apparently the math on that says that's actually not true. That you're better off getting like an offensive line coach, or you're better off getting a positional coach to be the head coach than you are a coordinator, because a coordinator's job is so much different from a head coach's job, which makes sense except for these like Cliff Kingsbury types. I mean, like Andy Reid, for instance, has that whole Waffle House menu in front of him, and then he sits down on the bench and orders from the menu while the defense is on the field. That is, he's coordinating. He's not really even coaching. How the hell does Andy Reid know to challenge when he's sitting there on the bench and he's got the plastic sheet in front of him and he's sitting there next to Mahomes and he's like, yeah, let's get 3 pancakes and 2 buttermilk biscuits and a side of sweet tea.
Is it because he's fat?
No, it's because the menu is a Waffle House menu. It's a giant plastic.
I think you're calling Andy Reid fat.
So when he ain't skinny. So when Andy Reid is sitting there and he's ordering from the Waffle House menu, sitting on the bench during the game, and the other team throws a completed pass, how do they know to challenge? It's like, coach, we need you to challenge. It's like, hold on, I'll be there in a minute. Like, seriously. But I do not think Vrabel's a good coordinator. He
wasn't a good coordinator in Houston.
When he had to call plays, when Dean Pease went to the hospital against Colts in 2018, oh my goodness gracious, that was bad. Now, some of that might be Andrew Luck, but he was awful. So I don't even think Vrabel's a good coordinator. But as far as like Tim Kelly was the coordinator for the Texans, and he's coming in here to be the passing game coordinator, and we're going to compare that to Jim Schwartz, who might be the best defensive coordinator in the history of the Titans and won a Super Bowl with the Eagles as the defensive coordinator. And
nobody's comparing him to Jim Schwartz.
That drives me
Nobody
bananas.
did that.
Oh, all the fans did when they hired him.
Right now, we did not make that comparison.
No. But that is that is what is implied. Implication. Now, I do want to get to this. So, either we got duped yesterday, or people are lying. And I don't know which one it is, but I have a take on the NBA Finals ratings, because apparently the NBA Finals ratings that we talked about yesterday apparently there's these like super secret ratings we don't know about. Apparently they're not only not bad, they're good. Even though we were told
that they were bad.
Ooh, tea. So I want to investigate this, but I have my own personal take that I want to get in on all this next. Speaking of the NBA Finals, catch the NBA Finals on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game as the Golden State Warriors look to take out the Celtics. Tip-off for Game 6 Thursday night at 8 o'clock. The NBA Finals is powered by FanDuel Sportsbook, America's #1 sportsbook.
At some point, it's a combination of who did you play and what does your skill set look like.
Get the best analysis of the big stories in the sports world with ESPN's Jason Fitz.
If you reach for a quarterback in the draft because you need one, you're going to set your franchise back 5 years.
Join Fitzy every Wednesday at 4:30. Presented by Blood Assurance. Jason Fitz.
I am 5'9.5"
on ESPN
102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
From Fox 17 News, this is a Code Red weather alert.
I'm Fox 17 Code Red meteorologist Greg Bobus. The heat continues. Near record-breaking heat the next several days. We'll go with 98 degrees on Wednesday and on Thursday. Unlimited sunshine, maybe a shower late in the day for Wednesday.
This weather report brought to you by Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical.
Call the happy face truck today.
Don't miss the Electronic Express Father's Day sale. Save big on Father's Day gifts from brands like Charbroil, Yeti, Samsung, GE, Sony, and more. Electronic Express has huge savings in every department. Outdoor living, appliances, 4K TVs, smart home, furniture, and more. Save up to 40% on all appliances with up to 36 months free financing. Shop in-store or online at electronicexpress.com and get free express delivery on most items. Electronic Express. We make Father's Day happen.
It's time to tee it up at Edwin Watts Golf Shops for the hottest gifts for dads and grads. Featuring the Callaway Rogue ST family. The Rogue ST woods are engineered with tungsten speed cartridge, while the irons feature an AI-designed flash face cup resulting in more ball speed. And from Bushnell, the Tour V5 and Tour V5 shift rangefinders show you precisely how far you are from the pin. Whether you're a dad or grad, get a free custom fitting today. Edwin Watts Golf Shops, home of the 90-day satisfaction guarantee, and shop us online at worldwidegolfshops.com.
There's not a better time than now to start feeling young again. Get your energy back, lose some weight, spruce up your look, and get healthy. Invigorate Health can help. They don't focus on just one area of the aging body. They take care of all of it with therapies that can restore your vitality and are customized for you. Medically supervised weight loss, hormone replacement therapy, PRP, IV therapy, supplements, Botox, and fillers are some of the services offered. Check out InvigorateHealthTN.com and book an appointment in Franklin, Mount Juliet, or Midtown.
Signs First is the official sign company for 1025 The Game. Go to sfnash.com.
Hey, Nashville, it's Chase McCabe, Program Director of ESPN 1025 The Game, and there's a new way that you can hear Nashville's best sports talk. It's on 106.3 FM. From downtown Nashville to Spring Hill on I-65 and to Murfreesboro on I-24, you now have two choices to hear our great sports talk programming. And, of course, the Nashville Predators. Check out 106.3 now and save it as a preset.
Dad deserves double the thanks this year, so this Father's Day, give him the power tool system that has everything for every job. The Ryobi One Plus tool system now on special buy. Over 260 Ryobi tools powered by one interchangeable 18-volt battery. And for a limited time, when you make a qualifying Ryobi purchase, you get one select tool or battery free. Feels like Father's Day at the Home Depot. How doers get more done. Offer valid through July 31st, 2022. Valid at participating stores and online. Limit one per transaction.
McFarland.
I feel like we're a better playoff team.
Willie Donick.
You're in a window of a division you can win.
Chase McCabe.
I'm not signing him for more than $1 million.
The DDC. Weekdays from 10 to 2.
Presented by Spring Hill Heating and Cooling.
On Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN.
1025 and 1063 The Game. And on the Game Nashville app. You're listening to Stillman and Company.
Sounds like this has been a game-changing day for all of us.
Presented by TriStar Moving.
On ESPN.
1025 and 1063 The Game. And on the Game Nashville app.
The Friday night rating, 8 million on Friday night. 7,950,000. Hey, so let's give me 8 million. They had about 11.5. 8 million people on Friday. I mean, then you can play that in your backyard. You get more people watching. 8 million people for a game 4 of an NBA playoff series, and that was a close game. You figure there'd be eyeballs to the sets late in the night. You know, second half, 11 o'clock. I'll put the game on. What's the score? It's close. I'll watch. 8 million. Nobody's watching again. That's a horrendous rating. I mean, you're going to sit there and they're going to tell me, well, it's streaming and all. No, it's not. All right? That's a small amount of people who are sitting there watching the game on a Friday night on their phone.
That was Mad Dog Russo on Sirius XM. And I got to say, we talked about this yesterday about the 8 million people that supposedly watched Game 4. Now, they said, 4. They said, there's going to be some more ratings that come in or whatever. And so I was listening to Mad Dog yesterday, and he was talking about, I guess Jimmy Traina, who works for SI and is kind of a media guy, texted Dog and told him that he was wrong and that it was 12 million people that watched, not 8 million people that watched. Now, that is a big difference.
But also, even 12 million is an astonishing number.
Not great,
it is a big difference.
But it's a huge difference. I mean, you're talking about a third more or a fourth more viewers.
Yeah.
Or whatever. Well, so you're telling me that 4 million people streamed it? Like,
maybe.
I mean, it's presented by YouTube TV.
I guess.
I don't have cable, and I don't think a lot of people my age do have cable, and it's a pretty young audience.
So either way, the finals numbers are way down. Like the amount of people that are watching.
Yeah,
even
12 million's not
2019. 13 million last night, 18 million game 5 in 2019. So it's significantly down. Now, there's a lot of excuse making that's coming out. The latest excuse is that when Michael Jordan was getting humongous ratings with the NBA in the 90s, that his games did not get as many viewers as Roseanne or Home Improvement did that week. So now it's like the audience is so fragmented that everything's going to be this way. Again, nobody will talk about that with baseball, but I guess we make those excuses for basketball. So this is what my theory is going to be, because apparently there's ratings and there's super secret ratings and nobody can see. Here's my theory. Nobody in my life is asking me what I think about the NBA Finals. And remember, coming into these finals, I was all jazzed up. Mm-hmm. I thought these NBA Finals were going to be really popular.
You thought it was going to be 8 times more the viewers in Nashville than the Stanley Cup Finals.
That still might be the case.
8 times more.
That's probably an overstatement. But like today at Titans practice,
nobody's talking
about the NBA Finals.
Nope.
And I don't believe this because I think like radio people screw up in life when everybody they talk to listens to their show and then their ratings come back and they're terrible. And they're like, everybody says they listen to my show, and it's like, yeah. I mean, if you're on another show that's not very good, people are not going to say, yeah, you're my buddy, but I listen to Jared Stillman and not you. So I normally don't go by that. Like I do 2 things I don't go by. I don't go by how many people call your show, and I don't go by, what people around you think. But at some point, if something's actually popular, don't people have to care about it?
Wouldn't you expect at least someone to say, hey, what do you think about these games? Like the only chatter that I have heard about the NBA Finals, and that might be because, we're not in an NBA market or so on and so forth, but the only chatter I hear is on ESPN.
Oh, and they pump it like it's the
pump
NFL.
It so hard. And I'll turn on First Take or Get Up, and when it's NBA talk, I turn it off.
Mike Greenberg
I have no interest.
Mike Greenberg said that a story about the Jags, and then kind of threw the Titans under the bus, which we will get to at some point this week. Mike Greenberg said that a story about the Jags registers more than any story about any other sport, period.
How is that even true at all?
Do you think a big LeBron story matters more to America than a big Jacksonville story?
Yes.
I don't know.
Not if it's Urban Meyer.
I mean,
true.
All I know is that's what they're again. They got the 8 million ratings. They got the 12 million ratings. I don't know what ratings to believe in. I don't know what to believe. Was Roseanne so popular in Home Improvement that now all the streaming services have ruined sports ratings?
Great shows.
I don't know. You can make excuses for anybody. Everybody who has a bad radio show in my entire career has never blamed themselves for the fact that they have a bad radio show.
Well, a poor workman blames his tools.
And I feel that way about the NBA Finals. I'll just say this. No one I know is watching it, even though I'm watching it. That's it for us. We're out of here. ESPN Radio, where I guarantee you they're probably talking about the finals.
For sure.
That's next.